Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning on in. Welcome to the official English broadcast of the Overwatch Pacific Championship. We've got a fantastic night coming up, I'm sure. I'm your host, Matt Pixie Carroll, and joining me here tonight is Kevin Walker and Matt Smite Ross. Gentlemen, it is Hong Kong Attitude Day.
It's fantastic.
Get your attitude out.
Yeah.
Especially after last night, right? These
Yeah,
guys
exactly.
are here to make a statement, even though they couldn't make it against Flash Wolves. It's the important ones that they've got to do it against today. Fireball is a big one because we've seen a big improvement out of that team, and it's their first matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting one, frankly.
It's going to be an important one because Fireball, look, we said Hong Kong Attitude had to be the team they were going to catch up to. And Hong Kong Attitude, what a great win against AHQ last night. First team coming up is going to be Fireball, the challengers.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing Smite touched on, is Fireball are also making some great improvements lately. I mean, it's hard to say how far they will or won't be able to go, but this is a match where they really feel like they've got something to prove, because if there is any team you'd think they should be able to beat, it would be the one immediately above them in the standings, being Hong Kong Attitude.
Well, that's the thing, right? We were saying, hey, look, Fireball, we're going to have to wait until they play against Hong Kong Attitude or Marchi again to see if they've really improved, because they can beat the Japanese team, sure, but then when we said that they played against Flash Wolves and AHQ.
Well, now here is Hong Kong Attitude on their home day.
Very somber. I'm liking this little bit of a highlight clip as well. Shaolin, K4, some of the key players on this team. Of course, every team has a home day. It is designated 2 home sides for Hong Kong Attitude. 2 important games as well, as they make their way back up the ladder, challenging Marchi.
2 games there, eager to win as well. After yesterday, taking on AHQ, one of the more significant upsets of the tournament. And even though they didn't pull out a win against Flash Wolves, they will still be absolutely buzzing after yesterday and be eager to prove more. Here are some quick thoughts though from the team's coaches.
Let's have a fun match.
OK， 他就说呢，希望呢我们今天来一场的愉快的比赛。
Let's have a fun match.
最近我们状况不太好，我们会尽力打好每一场比赛。
加油
We're going to continue to keep doing our best and playing our best game. Of course, it's Kurlos on the right, JFPS Life on the left.
All right, well, thank you very much for the translation there, AVRL. And yeah, we talked about how these guys are eager for more wins, as any team is, to be frank, but this is probably now one of the more interesting matchups of this week, right? Just because there are so many questions raised over it. I mean, before this, we would still say Hong Kong Attitude look a little favored coming into this, but then Fireball have been on the up. Now Hong Kong Attitude have had some really good results. Frankly, we have no idea where these 2 teams sit.
It's going to be hard because we said, look, one of the reasons I was going to say this was a close match is Hong Kong Attitude have not looked like they've improved as much as, say, Marchi, not even as much as Fireball. They're kind of stuck, but then they came out with this mind-blowing win against AHQ,
Yeah.
so it's kind of blowing all those predictions out of the water. It's now saying, is Hong Kong Attitude back on the upswing again? And Fireball, they got to be able to, have Fireball improved enough to actually take down Hong Kong Attitude? Because what we saw from them last night was really strong.
Well, also, right, when Fireball had their back-to-back matches against AHQ and then Flash Wolves, I was saying, okay, look, their performance is pretty hard to take as, you know, how much they've improved, because these are the very top of the table teams, and it's very unlikely that they were realistically going to actually take out a win in the series here. So we'll have to wait until they play Hong Kong Attitude to see how they're going. But Hong Kong Attitude actually did beat AHQ, so now we actually have kind of a comparison there. So Hong Kong Attitude, if you're just looking at the most recent improvements, they've done more than Fireball have.
I would say though, despite everything that's happened, I think the most key thing coming into this is both teams right now are actually looking really similar. We've identified one of the big strengths of how these top teams have been playing, the top 3 teams, has been how they balance around their particular superstar players. And we identified on both Hong Kong Attitude and Fireball superstar players. Since then, they all seem to have grown as teams, and they're not just that one guy who pulls off great plays. It's not just K4 gets a crazy Dragon Blade or Aputo gets a bunch of headshots. It's now the team plays really well, and if Aputo dies at the top, they get counter trades, they're able to win fights still. So I think that is really the core of what's going to make this exciting. It is, like we said, impossible to tell exactly how far either of these teams have truly come.
This is one of the first matches coming in where I truly feel like it's going to be difficult to call the final score and even the results. I'd like to say that I genuinely still think Hong Kong Attitude is somewhat favored, but I'm not confident that it's going to go either way. To be honest, this really is going to be a tough one.
And one of the most significant things here that could be, honestly, a big part of what decides this matchup is it is Hong Kong Attitude's home day. That means they get the home side. They were able to take Lijiang Tower off AHQ last night, and that was AHQ's pick. So with that home pick for Control, and then also having it later on in the night for Assault, you can't help but feel like that gives them just maybe enough of a leg up if they can kind of go into their comfort zones, take things like Ilios away from Fireball.
Fireball have done pretty well on most of the Control maps though. They don't have a particular weakness on any of them. However, when you go into Hybrid, which is going to be the second map, which is importantly their pick, Kings Row has been a bit of a crutch for them.
Yeah,
so
just
they won't
here
be
is Hong Kong Attitude on your screens. Now Fireball as well. We'll get a more in-depth look at those players in just a moment. But of course, both teams, again, I talk about these kind of superstar players. Is there anything else out of these guys we actually want to highlight? Particular areas where we feel they have improved? Really concrete things the viewers can look for?
Yeah, I truly think Hong Kong Attitude have shown a lot of innovation, right? They are the team that really like to throw the curveballs against other teams. They were the first team in the competition to play a counter Sombra. We saw from Mango Jai right on the left over there. They were one of the few teams to really bring something different to the table that you don't expect.
And it certainly never has felt like they're playing, I hate this term, right? Playing troll picks or playing cheesy things, trying to kind of throw the enemy team off. It's never really felt like that. It's like they are actually innovating. Look, sometimes it hits, sometimes it misses. Yeah. But as much as they have misses, look, Flash Wolves have had misses in bringing out Orisa at times. It happens to a lot of teams, and actually, this is one of the ones really pushing the fringe.
It's one of the teams that actually, you bring up a good point, because other teams have tried things that have sort of hit the mark, but Hong Kong Attitude is one of the few teams that try things that actually quite work out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hong Kong Attitude, it's less just playing something different, but something with a plan, right? It's not like Sun Sister, who have XQQ bringing out something different. It's actually saying, okay, look, this is our plan for the entire map, not just the first point as well, which is big on Anubis. But Fireball, they're also a very interesting team too.
Here now on your screens. One of the biggest changes for them after the first couple of weeks of the tournament where they struggled was Rocket actually, I believe was a support player coming into the top of this, moved him onto tank, had him specifically on Winston. They started to find a bit of success. And we talked about how that was kind of necessary to tide them over so that they could fix up the other things that weren't quite going right. You can't just have one team comp that you run, because if you can't run it as well as other teams, you're never going to get past them. And it took them a little while to do that. But now I think resoundingly we can say it has indeed happened. What is Apudo doing now?
It's the Junkrat cosplayer.
Apudo is a lot better looking than Junkrat.
Yeah.
If this was Junkrat, it wouldn't be working.
He has both his legs, and he doesn't have singed hair, so it's always a bonus.
And he's frankly adorable. I think Kurlos puts it quite adequately there.
I've actually really enjoyed Kurlos because he has been a really outstanding, specifically Ana player, and I've sort of, teams have pointed out Kiyomi from Machi has been one of the better looking ones, and so Sinkler has been really leading the way on that front as well, but Kurlos has been rising on those ranks. He had a pretty tough night yesterday, I gotta say, had just got picked out a lot of times, specifically on Zenyatta, but that one match aside, everything else the guy has shown recently in the past couple of weeks has been really good. And one of the key things about Fireball that's really given them a boost is they've gone from being a Pudo-only carry team to everyone stepping up. Kurlos and ZNR as being two of the big ones.
To expand on the Zenyatta point a little bit as well, as we go into Control, that's going to be a really big thing. A lot of the teams that are a little bit lower on the table do risk losing their Zenyatta at the start of many fights, and we'll probably get into the arting thing a little bit later, but Zenyatas are a threat to dying at the start of every single fight, and a lot of those reasons come from not just the Winstons, but the Tracers as well, who are diving the backline. And look at this match, you've got Shaolin and NZNR, both players that we've been saying have been improving a huge amount on Tracer. Shaolin probably more so than NZNR, but they're both threats. They're both threats to the Zenyatas as well.
Exactly, and it's partly just the nature of Zenyatta, isn't it? Unlike a lot of supports, he doesn't have a lot of, if you will, self-help tools. What he can do is just try and, you know, maybe outdamage you, win a trade with that Discord and headshots. He can get kills, but he doesn't really, yeah, he doesn't really have those kind of peel tools. Doesn't have a sleep dart like Anna. Can't just, you know, fly away to a nearby ally. So you do need a lot of coordination to make it work. So when a Zenyatta looks good, often it's because the team is looking good. You know, the Divas are looking good, and to an extent, the Winstons are looking good. Though the Winstons are less there to peel for Zenyatas. But in any case, it's really good to see. I guess exactly what you're saying there. It's good to see both the Zenyatas looking good now, but actually that links back to this notion of the team play as a whole has gone up from these guys.
Yep, that's pretty interesting. What else is interesting is map has been chosen, Oasis, by Hong Kong Attitude on the home side.
I do
and
like
it is a map that we've actually, this is the round robin where we've seen the most Oasis kind of ever, and I feel like in this specific round robin, Sombra's definitely come into play a lot more than in the past. So one of the few places where you do get to run that Sombra is going to be University here, and Mango has picked it up every single time. And I gotta say, Fireball, I've seen it from them as well, but it's been looking very, very well planned on the Hong Kong Attitude side.
Yeah, Fireball have just never quite looked as clean. You're quite right there. Hong Kong Attitude, this doesn't really surprise me at all for that exact reason. And they did actually pull this out against Flash Wolves as well last night, if I'm not mistaken. Unfortunately, they couldn't pull out the win there, but it was still their pick. So this is still, you know, a map they've put time and practice in for this week in particular, obviously knowing that they had their home day coming up. So I'm really excited to see exactly how they're going to play this one.
Also, what I'd like to see out of Fireball, specifically on University, is I don't really want to see them walk into that Sombra matchup with a mirror composition, right? I don't think they can really compete against the way Mango plays Sombra, because as AVRL said before, he also counters out the enemy Sombras quite a lot. So I'd like to see them just try and run a little bit more standard, things that aren't so vulnerable to EMP as well, and play a lot more spread out as well. It's one of the biggest counters to Sombra is not getting hit by the EMP. Use the line of sight, use the distance as well to not get hit all at once by one EMP that just wins the fight.
And what's really good from Fireball is they run dive quite well now. They've really practiced it to a point where they've almost, for their team at least, have mastered that now. Putting NZ out on Tracer has been extremely good. He was challenging Bacon Jack even, which is definitely a feat. Apudo, almost doesn't matter what you put him on at this stage. Genji's
he always looks good.
Soldier's good. Just about every pick out of him has been pretty solid. So, you know, this is a team now that can play quite aggressively, quite quickly, and take advantage of specific timing windows against Hong Kong Attitude.
Exactly. And you know, that's the thing. One of the other things you really don't want to do into a Sombra comp is run triple tank, and that's just not something Fireball are at any real risk of doing.
Somehow, I don't think so.
Yeah, not so much. But you're right about Apudo there actually. And one of the other things he does bring out, we may or may not see it. Probably won't actually see it specifically on Oasis, but he is a phenomenal McCree player. We may see a bit of Farah on Gardens, but at the end of the day, the point there is Apudo will comfortably do any of those equally as good as each other. He doesn't have one that is significantly weaker than any of the others.
Well, actually, expanding on the McCree thing a little bit, I think we may actually see it in Oasis against the Sombra composition, because another thing that Fireball have in their back pocket is they do occasionally bring out a Roadhog as well, and pairing that up with Apudo's McCree can shut down Sombra, because imagine you're running around trying to make sure you're getting the perfect EMP, and yeah, okay, you're invisible when you're actually going to engage it, but if you're ever caught out by a flashbang, by a hook, then suddenly the entire team's win condition is shut down. And Fireball have run that before. You just said Apudo, fantastic McCree, Roadhog's in there as well for the rest of the team, so it's definitely still an option.
I'm actually really looking forward to the K4 Apudo matchup. They both play a phenomenal Genji. They both play a very good Soldier as well. So again, two kind of similar players with similar hero pools, kind of along the same vein as Zonda, very much play the same sort of heroes there. Yeah. All very successful DPSs in their respective roles. So very interesting. I'm looking forward to those two in a head-to-head.
You know, one of the other interesting things I think about Fireball, just because you sort of touched on the Roadhog there, actually for a time, Apudo was also their Roadhog if they needed a Roadhog. They have since now been able to get some of their other members, not always the same person, but some of their other members playing that Roadhog, which I think has also been a small but equally crucial component to their success. They don't just rely on Apudo specifically to pick up whatever it is they need desperately in that moment. I mean, once upon a time, if they absolutely needed a Roadhog, They couldn't do it without losing their Genji or their Soldier or whatever DPS Aputo was actually on. So not being hamstrung by that anymore is actually quite a significant thing, because as much as we don't expect it, we do have a meta now where we see a bit of triple tank. We see this need to be flexible.
Yeah, and I think the big thing as well when we come into Oasis is we're very likely to just see different compositions on each and every map. Specifically, the team that is going to be running Sombra, if not both of them on University, that's going to be the different composition for that map. And then, of course, when you go to City Center, a lot of teams like to run that Soldier, get control of that high ground, make sure that there's no competition at all, force the enemy team to go around on the opposite side, which is just such an awkward way to engage it as well, because that is a large point and with a lot of line of sight as well.
One thing Hong Kong Attitude should go, in terms of knowledge they should have going into this is, do we expect Fireball to run dive? Do we expect Winston to come out of Rocket? Expect NZNR to pick up the Tracer? And then either Kurlos on Ana or Zenyatta, most likely Zenyatta to really supplement the dive, and Aputo has been mainly playing Genji as well. So you can kind of guess what Fireball's composition is going to be pretty much as you go into this. So something Hong Kong Attitude can definitely take advantage of.
Yeah,
less so from Fireball, because Hong Kong Attitude do switch things up.
Yeah, it's actually quite a good point. I suppose the one thing that would be a little bit predictable here for Fireball is specifically on City Center. You could probably expect Hong Kong Attitude to take that high ground play. They do absolutely favor that. And we saw it actually working to quite good effect at times. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that. But Fireball themselves do often go for the same play as well. So I'd be interested to see whether they look to contest it actively or whether they go for what we see other teams do, which is where you take the low ground and you force the high ground team to come down and fight on the point. I'd be curious to see how they actually deal with it, because it's probably going to happen, right? It's pretty clear.
And Hong Kong Attitude are a team that it can be difficult to judge what they're going to do, because sometimes they do run the Pharah on the City Center, sometimes they don't, and they put K4 on the Soldier instead. So you have a general idea of what you think they may do playstyle-wise, such as on University. Playstyle-wise, you feel like they're going to go for the Sombra, they're going to play for that EMP. Playstyle-wise, you feel like they're going to go for the high ground control in City Center. Compositionally, maybe a little bit less certain.
Well, first up, we do, of course, have Gardens. So it's probably the one that has got the least predictability to it. We aren't seeing any Pharah, though. This is the one place we were maybe going to see that, if at all. So not too surprised by that, to be frank. Opening skirmish. Really, Hong Kong Attitude have set themselves up on this higher ground very, very nicely, now managing to get the healers up here. This Rocket needs to be very careful diving up to this high ground.
It's going to be K4's Genji versus Aputo Soldier as well. It's a game-winning Genji that won them their match against AHQ, so this should be fairly exciting.
And actually Kurlos getting picked off. Shaolin doing a great job around the side on that one. And then the team goes on the attack. This is a very nice start for them, looking to get as much of the route as they can. Not going too deep on it, actually. Shaolin could have opted to pressure Ninth a little bit more there, but didn't. The cap goes the way of Hong Kong Attitude, though, and that was very nicely done by them.
Yeah, good high ground control, and actually nullified Fireball's sort of goal there as well, because you want to sit Aputo on a decent amount of high ground. You want to get him into the better position, and K4 kind of denied that. Hong Kong Attitude, his team denied that, then shut down the support.
This is NZNR looking to get Mango, doesn't quite actually close it out on him, so Mango should be able to top up his health. Oh, it actually forces out the Transcendence. I'm not sure where he fell off the high ground there, but in any case, does not matter, because while NZNR was busy doing that, the rest of his team was busy getting killed, and that is a complete wipe just about. It's only NZNR left, in fact, for Hong Kong Attitude.
And unfortunately, the only good thing they got out of that was Transcendence, which is something that you take with them, something to take home to your parents maybe, but they'd lose all their members minus NZNR, so another 5 players worth of ultimates fed over to Hong Kong Attitude, as this is kind of pretty with things down there.
Yeah, sitting pretty is a good way to put it, because I mean the big one here now is going to be this Dragon Blade. Look at this K4 getting right around the back end. He knows exactly where Kurlos is. Now trying to at least get on top of Zalk. Closes out that one. Now just looking for the DPS, but they don't even really need to. Good trade backstow for Fireball, and they've got some ultimates in the pocket if they want to make this one happen. But Rocket down, and Ninth no mech means that this is as good as one for Hong Kong Attitude. Did actually come a little bit tighter than I expected, given the round of ultimates that Hong Kong Attitude had in their favor. But now this kind of delayed set of deaths from Fireball has just given Hong Kong Attitude a ton of time.
That was a far more even fight. Every other fight for Fireball has been heavily in Hong Kong Attitude's favor. They've lost all their members. They haven't got any trades up. They've barely got an ultimate out of Hong Kong Attitude. Now they've managed to charge up their own ultimates, which is important because this is the first fight where they saw they actually got kills.
Yeah, but Hong Kong Attitude do still have a good run of ultimates. Apudo trying to get something with the tactical advisor that's to transcend out as well. Jin Kao with the opening kill onto Zalx. There wasn't a Samurai available anyway, but Apudo getting pressured off this high ground by a Ting. Great work there, and Rocket, he's got this Primal Rage. He's going to have to use it, probably now actually, and close out on a Ting. This is now their window. Rocket may actually want to hold on to his ultimate now as well, as the kills are actually coming through without it. NZNR pulling it out at the end there. Hong Kong Attitude just didn't quite have any resources left.
Full team wipe for 5. Well, these fights are just getting better and better. Unfortunately, it's 99%. They got a large deficit to sort of make up here. A couple of ults in their bank as well. Pudo changes onto the Genji, getting way too pressured onto the Soldier, and it was a really unfortunate transcendence coming out of Kurlos that just didn't manage to save a Pudo on the Soldier after that failed take visor.
Yeah, it really felt like Hong Kong Attitude got the better kills at the start. But Fireball actually really kept their calm throughout it afterwards and took advantage of Hong Kong Attitude, moving quite aggressively. This is a really great opening though, trying to pressure out. Mango doesn't quite catch it and Kurlos goes down instead. K4 unfortunately lost, but Hong Kong Attitude still have the opportunity to go aggressive on this one if they want, but probably not anymore as Apudo. Apudo wakes up.
This is the kind of play you want to see out of Apudo. I did feel like he was kind of unimpactful on the Soldier. He couldn't find the right angles. His team never pressured to be able to get the high ground positioning for him. So it was a difficult game for Apudo up until now. With the Genji, he can be a lot more effective. He can challenge K4 a lot easier, and he can get the resets as well for his own team to really start fights.
Now Hong Kong Attitude are the ones sitting on some ultimates, not as many as they would maybe want, but if K4 can get this Dragon Blade up in time, which he should be able to, they have every opportunity to take the win here. Good bomb out. Shailin doesn't quite catch anything with it, and Magochai is already dead despite the sound barrier. Now it's really only K4's Dragon Blade. They did manage to pick off Rocket there, waiting for Kurlos Transcendence to run out as K4 and Apudo both commit. Who's going to find more? Apudo so far has got a Ting, but K4, despite not finding anything, was able to pressure out, and the rest of his team did get something. Now actually he's in a bit of a tight spot and is really relying on the rest of his team to really close out. 1 for 1 there. Magochai with snipers, but that is what they need. Yeah, here we go. Couple more coming through at the back end of that one, and it's a team effort to be sure. Hong Kong Attitude 99-99, looking set to close it out.
Wow, Zelfix died at Sound Barrier. That's really unfortunate. That could have been their final tool to be able to get back in there. The 1v1 right at the end there, even with Rocket support. Unfortunately, Apudo couldn't win that, and K4 getting away with 10 HP. Had that been Apudo instead, it could have been the counter play. They had a Sound Barrier left to go. They had enough tools to maybe continue the fight, but that final duel between K4 and Apudo really shut the lid on Fireball.
Yeah, that it certainly did. And the unfortunate thing there as well is, look, Fireball did look better and better from fight to fight when Hong Kong Attitude had control of the point, but they didn't really go any further from that afterwards. So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me too much that once they got the ultimate advantage back in their favor, Hong Kong Attitude were able to take the fight and win it. And that's the one that, if you're Fireball, you actually need to win the most, because that's the one that wins you the map.
It's going to be Apudo back on the Soldier against K4's Genji. We'll see if Apudo can get better positioning here. We'll see if Fireball can pressure Hong Kong Attitude out, take advantage of the somber timing, and get very aggressive in this initial fight.
Yeah, that really is how you do it. You just force it to either be too dangerous for the Sombra to go in, or you make it hard for them to really take advantage of the packs. Basically, you have a window here to get all the ground while the other team is busy getting the health packs.
High ground is Fireball's game plan here, and they do have that. Unfortunately, they can't wait too long. This is a very neutral fight, and that works in Hong Kong Attitude's favor. They want to take a neutral fight. Hong Kong Attitude do not want to get aggressive on Fireball. There's a timing window, they got to hit it. They do get the cap, which is good for them.
Yeah, that was really a lot of the timing there. If they can convert this into a couple of kills before Mango gets the EMP, which they do on K4, and that may just be all they need. Now, even with this EMP finally up, Fireball have resoundingly won this fight, and Hong Kong Attitude do get a good opportunity to swing back now, but Fireball have got the cap, and they've got the opening timer on the point.
Absolutely, that really puts them ahead, and this is a sort of a point in the game where the EMP will be good, but not quite good enough. You're not nullifying any ultimate advantages out of Fireball. They got nothing to use here anyway, so this is going to be a neutral fight where I don't believe Hong Kong Attitude really come in with anything big to use.
No, they really don't. I mean, they are close to a transcendence. The pulse bomb from Shaolin goes wide, but wow, they make it work right off the bat, picking Kurlos. Good flank on that. They do lose Mango, but they look set to close out on Rocket here, and if they can take him out of the picture without losing anyone else, they should be well poised here to get a cap of their own, but Rocket successfully retreating. I'm not sure exactly where he is, but he's able to get himself healed up. They're really trying hard, but it seems the kills are finally starting to come up the way of Fireball, and Apudo not going down. Now is that Tac Visor. Can just open them up, to close up the fight if needed. Doesn't even need it though. Set to hold out. And good play out of Fireball there.
And this is where it's going to get difficult for Hong Kong Attitude, where their struggle is on the retake. You see already the EMP not having huge effect. That time was because Fireball didn't have ultimates. This time, Fireball does have ultimates. The next EMP that comes out will be far more devastating. However, there is still no health pack control, so for Mango Giant, it's difficult to get it charged up quickly.
And they don't have that EMP. Like they did have it a moment ago. This is the fight where you wish you had that EMP. They're actually just going to have to rely on frags, or maybe K4 gets a crazy good Dragon Blade here, but the Transcendence is out and ready. They're actually struggling. Yeah, EMP is available. They need to make it go now. Here we are. Cancels the sound barrier. That is nice for them, but Apudo is well safe off to the side. There's the sound barrier out for Hong Kong Attitude to try and give themselves more mileage as a Ting with that ultimate running kind of switches on, and they get the closeouts all in one go. Good pressure by Hong Kong Attitude and well shut down all of Fireball's ults.
It's unfortunate from Fireball because they managed to use the majority of ults before EMP came out, which is kind of the idea here. You don't want to be shut down by the EMP before you can get your ultimates out, but Fireball, they didn't manage to get the kills. They couldn't get enough trades before EMP came out to make it effective, and the shutdown of the sound barrier was particularly useful.
Ooh, good catch on a CQB ended in our first person to land a pulse bomb all game, and Shaolin's one actually went wide. This is a good opening for Fireball now. They convert onto K4, no EMP available. They're looking to pressure out Mango Jai. Even so, they are well set to get this cap through, and at 99% Hong Kong Attitude, they're going to be trickling on from here on out. They can't seem to get anything through. Mango Jai trying to blink around the point to buy time. Who's even there now to buy time? I think Ating is trying to book his way to the point. No such luck, and Fireball much more convincing than the first map.
Such a far more cleaner game out of Fireball. They struggled on Gardens, they struggled to take control, they never had the positioning. This time, all the positioning was theirs, even from the start. They took the high ground initially, then they moved onto the camp itself. It was Hong Kong Attitude's mistake to not contest the cap. You don't have to start a fight, you just have to stop Fireball from actually capping it out. And then Fireball turned on the aggression. They cleaned up all of the Hong Kong Attitude members. EMP was available, but it couldn't be used, and when it did get used, nothing sort of got out of that. So for 2-3 fights in a row, Fireball was so far ahead.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Fireball really counted out the Sombra comp perfectly. They took the fight and took the point in that opening window you get before the EMP is charged up. Then they kind of forced the EMP out and just kept taking advantage of the windows which they were making for themselves.
This is going to be Hong Kong Attitude taking the high ground as they usually do. They get challenged this time. This is what Fireball need to do. So
yeah,
I'm liking this already.
Oh, CQB going down is unfortunate there. Apudo is starting to get a little bit uncontested here as he pressures out a Ting as well. And as much as Hong Kong Attitude booked it for the high ground again. That is fantastic. I was going to say, again, this is the one that was the most readable if you are Fireball, and they have absolutely read what Hong Kong Attitude favor in terms of tactic. They are all over that high ground, now they're all over this point.
Yep, we know what you want to do, and we're going to do before you, and even better than you do it. K4 had no opportunity to even challenge Apudo. Apudo had such good placement there. He just finds all the kills, gets CQB, gets K4 as well. That closes up the initial first fight, and Hong Kong Attitude, they're behind. They don't know what to do in this situation.
Yeah, they're really unsure. I mean, this isn't AHQ who sit on the low ground, you know, or Flash Wolves who do the same, and I much prefer this gameplay actually out of Fireball than that taking the low ground play. This one just kind of takes the bull by the horns. You take a quicker fight and look, either you win it or you lose it. And they felt confident in winning it, but that is good pressure now from Hong Kong Attitude, picking up Kurlos as well, and the frags just start coming through. Fireball just kind of lift themselves a little bit too scattered, gave an opening to Hong Kong Attitude. The divers picked out the right targets. That was very nicely executed.
Scattered is a good way to put it, because you saw there wasn't really, it didn't look like Fireball had a particular target there. You had Apudo trying to protect himself from Winston. You had multiple other members trying to get kills, but no one really landed the frags. And now this is a little bit of a trickle for Fireball. It's a very, it's a bit of a, they're trying to commit to the progress here.
Yeah, they really want to. They're trying to just drag it out. They're even going to commit a tactical visor to this, but he's just getting beaten back from the point. Does actually take out a Ting, and they haven't lost the point. Hold on a second, they got a window. Because that cap didn't quite go over, Apudo manages to secure out a couple of kills. I was really confused about NZ throwing out the pulse bomb, getting the stall, but it actually worked. The respawns were close enough, and now Hong Kong Attitude are the ones looking a little bit in disarray. They are going to back off at a good time, kind of regroup, but Fireball earned a ton of progress from that.
Yeah, I don't think Hong Kong Attitude was prepared for that whatsoever. It was a little bit confusing for Inside to come out. They said, why is he not backing off? He even gets a kill, and that's when go time happens for Fireball. More kills come on through. We're about to hit 90%. This is looking absolutely fantastic. Control in their favor as well.
Shaolin's only just barely going to be able to reach this fight, and then it's going to be a little while until he has that pulse bomb up. So if he dies too early, they're
K4.
really in a tough spot. Oh, K4 caught out by the self-destruct. While that ultimate is running now, Mango caught off to the side with Rocket in his face. NZNR is there to follow up on the Ana, and he has got nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Tries to get in range of the sound barrier. No such luck, finally gets trained down. Fireball, no one's really going down on their side. Finally some return kills onto the two healers, but they've still got the ultimates to use. The pulse bomb is good. CQB goes down, and that should be the secure now for Fireball.
And K4 is going to come into this, no teammates whatsoever. He's a lone soldier, a lone wolf, one man against the world, and it's not going to be enough. It's just
actually, hold on.
They're trying to stagger this one out a little bit.
Yeah, he managed to get a ting on just in time, so actually K4 has survived that onslaught. Aputo is making his way back to this fight. Here we go with the Tac Visor. This could be what they need to close it out, especially if he caught Shaolin there, but doesn't quite close it. They're going to commit, though, with that nano boost as well. He has to first flee from a ting, but he's getting the closeouts anyway.
Pickups.
K4 and CQB, that's all they really needed, and Mango Jai was just icing on the cake. Doesn't matter what you block now because the ultimate's already done its work. As Jin Kao is forced off the point. Took a little bit longer than expected, but just as Hong Kong Attitude gave themselves more runway for the fight, Fireball gave themselves more runway to close it out.
4 kills for Aputo, 1 dab to send it right on through, and 2-1 of the map so far onto Oasis, and that it is just looking cleaner and cleaner for Fireball. They just know how to counter Hong Kong Attitude here. They say, if you want to go for the high ground play first, we're going to get there first, and we're going to beat you to the mark, and then we're going to stay there, we're going to keep our position, we're not even going to lose the point. 100-0 is very dominant.
Look at Aputo there, he's all smiles no matter what. I don't think I've ever seen them not smiling, even when they've suffered their most crippling defeats.
And
this
now they
team's attitude is phenomenal.
And they got a fantastic reason to smile now. This is Fireball Attitude.
Yeah, this is Fireball Attitude. This is a higher caliber product than that Hong Kong Attitude.
We'll have to find out.
Get that attitude and check the tag.
It is so far 2-1, but the map's not closed out yet. This was one that Hong Kong Attitude has lost before.
And they're running the exact same strategy. This is a strategy that I feel Fireball really countered well. Jin Kao getting pressured here, does just barely make it back to his team, but even then, he's not out of the woods yet. Hong Kong Attitude, again, look, Fireball has kind of made the window for themselves and they're looking to take advantage of it, but Rocket going down could just swing this the other way, and Mango has managed to get this EMP up much faster this time around. NZNR out, and Hong Kong Attitude looking a little bit more on form now, swinging back as they make the Sombra comp work.
Actually, Hong Kong Attitude managed to sort of deny out Fireball a lot better there. Early health pack hacks coming up from Mango Jai as well. Early pickup in terms of kills. Rocket going down really spelled the doom for Fireball. They lost a bunch of their aggression straight off the bat, and Fireball weren't able to get anything in response. Cap actually went over really quickly to Hong Kong Attitude as well. It's a complete reverse of what we saw last time.
Yeah, and Mango picking off Kurlos, going full aggressive with that health pack control as well. He's only at 50% now, but he will have that ultimate before the next fight. I can guarantee you that, unless he dies.
Yep, he's going to have the ultimate. Thankfully, Silver Fireball, they don't have too many ultimates that they're relying on here. Even if he won't be extremely devastating, it will put them behind, though. They do have to consider that. Keep it in the back of their minds.
But they absolutely will. NZNR has that platform. Looking to land it on
Eden.
Gets Eden, yeah. But the trader's there onto Aputo. CQB somehow managing to get that. Getting 9th out of the mech though. Hong Kong Attitude looking solid already in this fight. No need to commit the EMP so far, and Shaolin can close out with a pulse bomb if he needs. They don't even need. They didn't commit a single ultimate to that one. That was just frags from start to finish.
Yep, really clean kills there. It looked like a boob kill from CQB, knocking Aputo off the ledge
Must
of
be.
the high ground as well. They said, look, that's all we need to get things started. We know Fireball behind. We know they don't have ultimates. We don't have to use here because they're not going to commit anything. Plus, we ate their pulse bomb, so whatever they did have got nullified.
Oh, the sticky. Oh, he runs it straight into Shaolin. That was absolutely beautiful. And it counts as a suicide for Shaolin. Look at that. There's the EMP out. It gets kind of absorbed, but they are already lacking Aputo now with a cleanup crew in the form of a Ting comes in. Those hands with all that fur are like broomsticks sweeping from side to side. And Mango Jai is keeping these health packs on absolute lockdown. The run-through of kills is there, and they secure another fight. It's now dire straits for Fireball.
And this is where Hong Kong Attitude are very comfortable. 99%. Contest finally comes
There
up.
it is.
At least there's no EMP. Fireball got that going for them.
Very early ultimate out of Rocket, but they do force out an equally early sound barrier and the Transcendence here for Fireball as well, so all the defensive tools kind of off the table. K4 already getting the mech, but Knight able to take out the pilot as well. Jinkao closing out the healers, and Fireball got some good progress on that one, but they weren't actually getting kills there. They were just kind of sitting on the point while Hong Kong Attitude wheeled around, collapsed in, and absolutely nailed them to the wall on City, on a university actually, City University.
Well, speaking of City Center was 100-0 in Fireball's favor. This one swung around the other side, 100-0 in Hong Kong Attitude's favor. And this was the Sombra composition and the Sombra playstyle and the execution that Hong Kong Attitude wanted to bring the first time. Got the early cap, got the early health pack control, never lost it from then on. This is where Sombra thrives. What Fireball did last time was the way to beat Sombra. What Hong Kong Attitude did this time was how to execute Sombra.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and in all this, the people I feel the most sorry for actually are the students at that university. How do they get anything done? Just constantly people fighting in their library. Well, can't be easy. In any case,
you can't access those additional readings.
Yeah, in any case,
what a shame.
How are you even going to get your textbooks? You can't even afford the textbooks in the first place, and then you can't even get to them even if you could. But this is the Gardens. Stay clear of the Gardens for today, folks. There is going to be a skirmish on it, and it is currently going the way of Hong Kong Attitude. Good pressure onto the DPS. They do lose Jinkao, actually. Yeah, now even trades because they didn't quite close out Naputo, and this is now Puto's opportunity to go for gold if he so chooses. Looking to get the pressure on a Ting now, ready to close that one out there. Actually, Rocket, unfortunately, going down was a little bit too deep, but they finally close out on a Ting. And Fireball are actually the ones set up at this point. Puto still, as much as they're trying to deal with him, he's pretty uncontested. They're not really putting the right people onto his tail, and Puto not going down at the start there when he was within an inch of dying was all it took for Hong Kong Attitude to lose that.
Exactly, they've spent so much pressure onto Puto. They wanted to get that kill, but the healing from both Zelfix and Kulos was so good. Protection from Matrix with Knight as well, just managing to keep Puto alive, and he went on a rampage afterwards. This is exactly what Puto wanted to do last time after losing that duel to K4.
Yeah, exactly. And this was actually the one that went over to Hong Kong Attitude. So Fireball very quick to just stick with that Genji for Puto. K4 is the one who gets Kurlos, though now Puto trying to open up with the Dragon Blade. Gets a Ting. That's a nice one to start it off with, but struggling to find more. Dez does get taken down. Now it's K4's turn to go off. Look at the man go, trying to get onto this Lucio, but he hasn't really got anyone topping off his health for now, in a bit of a world of hurt. And really no one is the beneficiary of this fight just yet. Fireball finally go, all right, let's commit some resources. The Primal Rage and Sound Barrier should tee them up through the rest of this, and Hong Kong Attitude are going to have to regroup.
Fireball looked comfortable right up until they lost to Puto. For Fireball, there was an opportunity there. Maybe they didn't have to commit any further ultimates. What Hong Kong Attitude managed to get out of there was not only a kill onto a Puto, but it forces the ultimates because Fireball knew they weren't going to be able to hold on without him. But the Genji duel does continue, and so far, K4's been the one killing a Puto, not the other way around.
So far it has been, but Fireball are the ones, now up to 70%. We'll have to see how well K4 can go off in this one, and he's already got Kurlos. That's one way to do it. Puto has made the equivalent trade on the other side, though, as the blade gets put back in the sheath. Puto gets taken down, though, so it doesn't matter Genji versus Genji if one of the Genjis isn't even there. Ting trying to get this point on lockdown now as Fireball are getting absolutely beaten back. Knight's out of the mech, and he will go down here. The cap back will come through. It is maybe just going to reach 90. Ooh, falls a little bit short, but Fireball used just as many resources as Hong Kong Attitude in that, and Hong Kong Attitude still have more.
88%, you'll take it for Fireball. Unfortunately, you're quite a fair bit behind in ultimates. This is going to go pretty far in the favor of Hong Kong Attitude before Fireball have an opportunity to bring it back. They've got to bleed out a number of ultimates, including both support ultimates. Here comes the first one actually from Fireball's side, so they really are committing into this now.
There's going to be the... Oh, Shailin off the edge. What happened there? Jinkao already picking up the kills on top of this one. It's a little bit dicey for a minute here, but Hong Kong Attitude still have a few more to commit. K4 getting pressured out, though, as they lose a Ting, and now Jinkao's lost his mech. Finally trades back the mech with Ninth, but it's not quite going to matter so much. Yeah, it's great for Fireball. They've really got the pressure on. And a close out there onto Mango Jai. They're looking very solid on this one. We'll be able to get the cap back over up to 88%. So they've got to hold it down for a little bit, but they've absolutely got the resources to do that, and Hong Kong Attitude have none.
I did not expect Hong Kong Attitude. The reason they have none is because they've committed both support ultimates, couldn't keep their team alive. Fireball only committed one, and they managed to do the exact same job and win the fight.
There we go. Good start for NZNR. And now Puto, no nonsense with that sound barrier on him as well. Looking to close out, gets Jinkao after getting a Ting. Look at this guy. He goes for the tanks first, and he still makes it work. closes out CQB, and what a nail-biter Oasis has been. The full 5 and anyone's game up until the end, but Fireball, they do close it out onto Hong Kong Attitude.
It's a massive turnaround because both teams took a stage of their own. Look, it's been 50-50. University went both ways. Garden went both ways, but only City Centre went in the favour of Fireball. And that was a swing map. That was when Fireball came back and took control 100-0 to start things off. And a nail biter, you're right, because it went to the 5th game. But Apudo and his team just coming out on top.
And this was Hong Kong Attitude's map pick. This is Hong Kong Attitude on their home day. After beating AHQ yesterday, that has got to be a hard one to take on the chin.
Maybe they should have picked Lee Jung.
Maybe they should have. Maybe actually that's what's going to work for them better. But look, the series is still not over, and that actually was incredibly close. We are now going to go to Fireball's pick. Are we expecting anything in particular, and how on earth is it going to look?
It's going to be...
Not Eichenwalde.
I hope it's Eichenwalde.
I kind of hope it is. I like that map.
Be.
I mean, you say that Oasis is one of the most picked in this round robin, or this weekend at least.
Yeah.
Eichenwalde's probably the most picked this weekend.
Actually, yeah, we have, I don't know if it's quite the most picked, but we have suddenly
hybrid.
seen a lot of it, like a big upswing in Eichenwalde this last round robin.
Yeah, but in any case, I'm not saying that it's going to be Eichenwalde for sure, but Fireball, their performance on King's Row has been a little bit hit or miss, right? When their attacks come out, sometimes they look fantastic, even against AHQ. They got it just before the end, and that's fantastic for Fireball against a team like AHQ. But then on their defense, they got, to be quite honest, completely steamrolled, right? There was no contest at all, and a lot of it has to do with compared to AHQ, they were swapping their team composition quite often, right? One thing for first points, another thing for second point, and then they didn't even have time to swap anything for the third point, but I feel like they would have been more comfortable if they did.
I'll be honest, I also feel like Numbani is kind of off the table here because look, Hong Kong Attitude, they're not the best Numbani team in this tournament, but they are still very comfortable on that map, on the defense especially. I don't think Fireball should really risk going to a map where you're going to get first held, and that probably cuts Hollywood out as well.
I was going to say, referring to King's Row, the reason they're not quite there on the defense is they wanted to run Rocket onto the Reinhardt, and whatever they're doing with the Reinhardt, currently it's not refined enough, it's not well practiced enough, they're not ready to bring that out again, certainly not in a matchup that's going to be as close as this one. They need to be bringing whatever their A game is to actually beat out Hong Kong Attitude.
That's actually quite a good point, right? Because as much as we talked about how Ting really needed to shore up the Reinhardt play, he actually is looking decent now on that compared to Rocket, who has always just been that one step behind, I feel, with transitioning from that Winston back over onto that Reinhardt. So that's quite a good point you bring up there.
He's not a Reinhardt player, and that's the difficulty. He's a Winston player, and it's a totally different playstyle that as a main tank player, this is kind of where the skill ceiling is. You need to be able to adapt, you need to be able to be versatile enough to really take on two very different playstyles and master both. One is very patient mind games, the other is timing based, very aggressive, very opportunistic. So I mean, it's two mindsets that you have to really take in, and so far Rocket has shown that he can do one, not so much the other.
Yeah, and actually, you know, it was exactly that Ting was struggling with as well. He didn't really quite get the nuances, I feel, of that Reinhardt versus Reinhardt. But I don't think that that's the case anymore. So there's more questions over Rocket's Reinhardt play. So I think you raise a good point there as well, and that you know, to go more detailed into it, I do think King's Row is probably not really on the table, but maybe it is going to be Eichenwalde then.
But the thing is, right, it's not about what we think.
It's about what Fireball thinks.
It's about what Fireball thinks is good, and they've picked King's Row before, so we may see it come out again. They may think, okay, look, we've learned from our last time on defense why the Reinhardt composition didn't work out for us on the first point, because they've played it a few times, so they've got a lot of footage to go back and look over and make sure that they can work it out. So Fireball might think that they can make it work this time.
The one map we haven't talked about, Hollywood. We've talked about all three. Hollywood is one that we haven't referred to. Hong Kong Attitude lost Hollywood to AHQ last night. I'm not saying that Fireball are going to be able to win because of that. Hong Kong Attitude play against AHQ in a very different sort of manner. They specifically brought out the Reaper strategy on the first cap, specifically versus AHQ. That's not going to be something they can bring out again versus Fireball. Now, Fireball, on the other hand as well, they're not AHQ. They can't defend the way AHQ do, who are, by the way, most likely one of the best defense teams, if not the best defense team in the entire tournament. So it's still something that's available to them, but I don't know if I can consider it. Now that we've sort of explored all options, maybe Eichenwalde does just fit them the best based on what Fireball's playstyle is and what they want to run.
Exactly. It almost feels more like, what can't we take them to? They can't really go to Kings Row for reasons pertaining to their own team, and I really don't feel like they can do Hollywood or Numbani for reasons pertaining to Hong Kong Attitude. So, look, it's still not locked in. They are still deciding, but I mean,
I would say
the argument is
Numbani
compelling.
over. If it's not Eichenwalde, it's Numbani for me
I would imagine so.
because of playstyle wise. Again, what are Fireball good at? They're good at the dive. They want to run Rocket on the Winston. That's your safest bet. You don't want to play anything where you're going to have the Reinhardt. So if it's not Numbani, it's Eichenwalde.
It is Eichenwalde, indeed. It is locked in now. There we go. We called it, and I think we've pretty adequately covered all the reasons why. And Fireball have actually been one of the teams that have favored Eichenwalde right from the start of this tournament. They were one of the few picking it right off the top. And Elios, funnily enough, they've always been this kind of off the beaten track kind of team. They don't just go to the to the Lijiangs and the Nepals and the Kings Rows. They have their own playbook, and they're looking to play to that playbook. This is with them being already 1-0 up in the series.
Fireball have also had some pretty good results on attacking that first point as well, right? I think two maps in a row, actually, two match series in a row, they played Eichenwalde and they actually capped it basically immediately. And one of those series was against Blank as well. And
yeah, it was, yeah.
Importantly about the Blank one is that it did come off the back of an incredible sleep dart, but that's Fireball taking huge advantages of a situation that you've got a split second to go jump onto, right? And if they can do that against Blank, then I feel like they can do that against Hong Kong Attitude as well. It's hard to get yourself in that situation, but
It is. You're quite right. But they do it reliably enough, I suppose. That's really the thing. I mean, that's part of why they favor Eichenwalde. And
This is where you put a Puro and Genji. This is why one of the reasons you're going to pick Eichenwalde. It's open enough, it's vertical enough that a Puro's going to have a really good time onto Genji, and you can afford to run minimal Reinhardt on both offense and defense. So it works in Fireball's favor from a playstyle perspective, which, like I've said already, is probably the main direction the main angle you want to look at here for Fireball and why they want to go here.
yeah, exactly. So I suppose the thing I kind of want to touch on here is, I mean, we feel a little bit like Fireball or a tad favored coming into this map specifically, partly because it is their pick, partly because they're quite good at it normally, and now actually something I mentioned at the top of this match is, look, Hong Kong Attitude had themselves a bit of an advantage with having the home side pick. If this entire series just sort of went the team who picks is the team who wins, then Hong Kong Attitude would have won. But that's just now no longer the case, and I almost feel like this is a position for Fireball to very convincingly put themselves up 2-0 in the series.
I'd say it's within the realm of possibility, and I wouldn't be surprised if Fireball at least don't have a very good run here. It is, of course, their pick, and most teams would say, even Fireball themselves in interviews, they said, look, we're happy that other teams want to pick Eichenwalde against us. Saves us from picking the map ourselves, so thank you very much for that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's certainly within striking distance, but look, we also felt that Hong Kong Attitude had prepped Oasis and had good reasons for picking it because they did bring it out against Flash Wolves yesterday when it was their pick. So maybe we're just going to have the reverse effect here. I mean, it's only just started. It's clearly not over. You can see that on your screen. So I'm very curious to see how Hong Kong Attitude deal with this map pick, given that surely they could have predicted this one out of Fireball.
All right, so this is going to be a decent amount of counter dive pressure coming out. It's going to be an interesting one. Rocket's goal will be to dive both the supports, and it will be essentially a team's job to shut down a Pudo. Now, Pudo's going to have a really hard time because it's a very concentrated dive composition out of Hong Kong Attitude.
It is, but they do have Kurlos on that Ana, and he has been so phenomenal on it lately. I absolutely expect him to get some kind of crazy sleep dart here onto one of these divers. And already Shailin getting a little bit pressured out here, so he's going to have to fall back for a moment and regroup.
Hong Kong Attitude's got to find the right moment here. Apparently, this is the right moment now. I question that a little bit because
so they claim.
So low. I don't think he should have dived in.
He really shouldn't have. I mean, they kind of saw dollar bills in their eyes with the Pudo and Enzenar both quite low, but that was what cued K4 to go in a bit too aggressively. Shailin does get away with his life, which was a tad unfortunate while Enzenar died, but that was a hold for Fireball, and I think they will have just enough time to get Enzenar back to this one.
And what's really great about this hold from Fireball, or rather the attack from Hong Kong Attitude, is that they managed to get counter trade. So despite not being successful in the attack, because their respawn is so much closer, they can immediately attack again. Like
cracking 9th out of the mech is a great way to start it, and Shailin is all over this one. Look at this uncontested control of the high ground he has. and it seems that Fireball, just with that last kill on NZNR, weren't quite able to regroup in full force on this point. It will go the way of Hong Kong Attitude. Crucially though, Fireball hold on to some ultimates, and they can take themselves an early fight trying to defend up quickly and stop any kind of snowball.
Well timed by Hong Kong Attitude. Despite losing K4 in that initial push, they got enough trades that they managed to time themselves another attack where Fireball didn't have a chance to set up. You don't have time to get Apudo back on the high ground. In fact, Apudo's going to stay on the Soldier just to take advantage of this tactical visor. At some point, I expect him to go back on the Genji, but that time is not now.
Did you see that? Jinkao was trying to sort of pave the way for K4 to go in, but Fireball snipped it out, Apudo especially, and he went, hold on, K4 is going to be somewhere around here. He's got Dragon Blade. Hong Kong Attitude tried to get really cheeky there, really clever with their play. Now the Pulse Bomb goes wide as well. Fireball have read this like a book. Hong Kong Attitude, they are finally converting a couple of kills, may just be able to pressure out Apudo. No, actually, no such luck. They just kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit there. Now Fireball are able to take the low ground, even with Apudo being down. They've actually got the tools, and they are actually the ones pushing Hong Kong Attitude back.
They get a decent number of counter trades, so this is now where it's starting to look better for Fireball because their spawn is now better than Hong Kong Attitude spawn. So I mean, this is a more workable position for Fireball, even if they still lose members. What they got to take care of is they need to make sure they can get a good tag visor out of Apudo because they're still holding on to Soldier, they're still holding on to ultimates. They haven't had a chance to really make an effective counter attack with ultimates used.
Yeah, unfortunately, a few too many of them going down to the back end of that, and Shylin is right onto this high ground to try and deny it. Now, the moment they go up
Spotted out.
Yeah, he is spotted out. Once again, Fireball just seems to be figuring out where Hong Kong Attitude are trying to position themselves. That being said, the payload has gained a significant amount of distance. Fireball haven't resoundingly won any of these fights.
There we go. Now this looks like a holding position for Fireball. Tag visor finally comes out.
Rocket unfortunately caught on the back end of that. The Tag Visor Nano Boost combo is there, but the sound barrier is there as well to counter it out. The Apudo's just kind of left running. CQB goes to hunt him down, and Fireball get absolutely smoked through that one.
That was really unfortunate for Fireball. So, you know, their plan didn't quite work out for them. Attack Nano Visor straight into the sound barrier. CQB played that one extremely well, even shutting down Apudo himself. And Apudo sent packing right back, and finally we get the Genji. This is what Fireball have wanted to change onto for so long.
And this is now their opportunity to make a bit of a stand. Here's going to be the Dragon Blade available for K4, and he's already got Kurlos. Fireball already being pressured, and Apudo is kind of pushed off to the side. K4 going aggressive, finding Zelf. He's on to 9th, which is not the ideal target, but there's really no other targets for them. The rest of Fireball were kind of killed or forced into retreat, and Hong Kong Attitude in complete control of that fight.
Fireball do force out a couple of ultimates for Hong Kong Attitude before they can get the cap out. It kind of puts Fireball in a better position to defend the third cap a little bit more solidly, I suppose. Hong Kong Attitude, this does slow down their momentum. That's very important for Fireball if they want to be able to hold this one here.
Fireball. They are really not looking solid right now. They have yet to really dig in their heels and find a spot to hold the line at. And while Shylin and K4 have kind of had free reign of the backline, this is their opportunity to go with the sound barrier running already. Apudo opening up with the Dragon Blade, but the Transcendence is back to try and deal with it. They are looking to get K4. Apudo goes down, and K4 stays alive. The only one they've got so far is Mango Drive. They do have good positioning, though. They're sort of putting pressure onto Hong Kong Attitude, but they're not converting into kills, and Hong Kong Attitude now getting the chance to beat them back, especially with the sound barrier now to save a Ting's life. They're going to keep this fight going. Fireball throwing out some ultimates into the mix just to try and force the positioning here, but they're getting them thrown just as hard back at them, and all this time, Hong Kong Attitude, they're keeping the payload moving as best as they can, and no one's really getting enough kills for this to be worthwhile.
This has been a super long fight as well, still 3 minutes on the clock, so in terms of bleeding down the time, it's not enough just quite yet. Fireball need to get a lot more kills here, and a lot more kills are actually coming in the way of Hong Kong Attitude instead.
Yeah, and that was that sound barrier bought the time for a Ting. He then got the Primal Rage up, and with that extra displacement, they were able to put Fireball into disarray, and the slim positioning that Fireball had held on to was taken out from underneath them.
I think the only thing that really worked out for Fireball was Shylin's Pulse Bomb got eaten by Knight. It's not quite enough to secure them this defense, so they need just a bit more. Not enough ults for Fireball either to do anything. They just have to continue slugging it out.
They're already going to have to commit to this last fight because the payload's nearly there, but Kurlos is already out of the picture, and they just don't seem to know how to react to this whole thing. They're constantly getting picked off before they're even in position to fight now, and the payload just meters away from the end. The last few kills get rolling on through. NZNR trying to contest the point to buy time, but it's not going to happen. Kurlos, ooh, he does touch it for a second, and the opener's there from Maputo. Gets CQB. He's going last ditch, but he steps off for a split second, and that is that. The payload makes it all the way to the end, and now Fireball, they must take it to Time Bank if they still want to win.
And that's a tough defense coming up from Fireball. Really started on the second cap. Well, I got to say, first cap actually was a little bit difficult. They managed to secure the first defense, but it was a hard-fought one. They lost too many members. Hong Kong Attitude came back with a timing attack to push Fireball out, and then Fireball sat on the Tech Nano Visor for so long. They wanted to use it, couldn't find the right opening for it, came back and respawned, eventually used it, but got no results. So for all that time that they sat on the Soldier, they couldn't get anything done. By the time Maputo finally swapped onto Genji, the snowball from Hong Kong Attitude had gotten so big they rolled on through to the final cap. It took them a while, but the fights were always going in the favor of Hong Kong Attitude.
I think the thing that was the most unfortunate as well is the first hold on the first fight was very good from Fireball. There were no ultimates still for that second fight on that first point, and it's like Fireball, they didn't position the same, they didn't react the same, but Hong Kong Attitude did do the same push, and it worked. I mean, I feel like Fireball shouldn't have let themselves get caught out by that.
They had no choice. It was not Fireball's problem.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point.
It was Hong Kong Attitude's initiative to be able to time their attack properly to get back in there. Because Fireball, look, they lost too many members. The trades were not in the favor of Fireball. If you get even trades as defenders here, it's not good enough. Your spawn's worse. You're always going to reinforce back on the defense worse and slower than the attackers are going to reinforce their members on the offense. So, I mean, for Fireball, they were never going to get a chance to reset up their defense properly, and Hong Kong Attitude took advantage.
Well, this is going to be a thing now. On to that Reinhardt. So we'll really get that test as to whether he has made the improvements that we are claiming. They're actually running triple tank. This, I find, is quite interesting on this defense.
Yeah, they haven't gone back to this in a while now. Shaolin, first time off Tracer in quite a decent amount of time. Jin Kao, first time seeing him back in the Zaya for quite a while. They've done this a few times before, but they are known better for their 3 DPS or even their dive currently.
Rocket already getting a little bit low though, and this is the thing with the Zenyatta is you do have to take that little bit of extra time to heal up. You don't have those same burst opportunities if one member gets a bit too low. Here now looking to get aggressive positioning.
It's not as easy for Fireball, unfortunately, because they have to get past the Reinhardt first. This is going to be opening now.
Oh, but they almost do there.
Ting nearly down.
Very nearly went down, but they had the healing out of Mango Giant. They're getting the pressure onto K4. Fireball are actually on the point here, so now Hong Kong Attitude have to come out and contest this, but Fireball is set up so that the moment they step out of that door, whoever goes first gets pressured down. Ninth, though, getting taken out of the mech is the window for Hong Kong Attitude to press the go button. Now they're looking to get aggressive. NZNR looking to throw a pulse bomb inside the room. Doesn't catch anything, and now K4, along with the rest of his team, comes flooding on out of where they were holed up. 2/3 did go the way of Fireball, but this is going to be a hold and secure for Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, and kind of the opposite to what we saw when Hong Kong Attitude attacked, unfortunately for Fireball. Not enough picks, barely anything. I don't think they got a single kill there, which means they're going to have to fight directly into the same defense. Hong Kong Attitude don't need to reinforce, they don't have to reset up. They can use the same defense again in Fireball. They're behind because Ultimate's available for HKA.
But I will say Fireball played that very well. They actually set themselves up such that Hong Kong Attitude couldn't come out and contest the point. They got a lot of progress without actually having to get kills. Now though, Hong Kong Attitude have some tools. They don't have to sit tight in that room. Kurlos, very early Transcendence, and there's nothing there that's been committed. Now the Graviton comes out, no Transcendence to counter it. Aputo desperately trying to open this up. He actually finds CQB as well. Fortunately, the blade does have to go away, but
nice
against Mango Jai, the only response skill has been onto Zalx and Ninth Mech not being there anymore. So Fireball look poised to clear this one up. They only have 1/3 left to go, so it doesn't matter that K4 is respawned with that tactical visor. He won't be able to get back to this one in time. Fireball do get the cap, but Hong Kong Attitude had the opportunity to take an early hold.
Open up the backpack again, because Aputo, he really carried that one for his team. Managed to get the majority of the kills using Dragon Blade, then 2 kills with Deflect as well. He's been absolutely on point. They should have been a fight win for Hong Kong Attitude. They had a massive ultimate advantage. Graviton Surge as well, but they couldn't clean up anything. Even with an early Transcendence out of Kurlos that they kind of nullified.
Ooh, now trying to contest this ground goes a little awry as Rocket gets taken down. They weren't quite quick enough to pull the trigger on getting up to that high ground themselves and depriving it from Hong Kong Attitude.
Good sleep.
Yeah, it's a great sleep.
Couldn't deflect that one.
Give them Aputo as well. Kind of forgot that K4 died early. He was able to come back very early as well.
This is Hong Kong Attitude taking control again. So for every couple of steps that Five will make, Hong Kong Attitude just give enough pushback that allows Hong Kong Attitude to get a sustainable defense. This is not something Fireball had on their defense, unfortunately.
Pudo with this Dragon Blade, you know exactly what he wants to get. And will he find it, I suppose, is the real question. He does get CQB, closeout is there onto Jin Kao as well. Pudo not finding much himself specifically, but they're putting the team into disarray. K4 trying to swing back, only has 2. And there's the extra 2 to close it on out as K4 finds Kurlos as well. The backliners were completely unprotected, and that's who Apudo was looking for. K4, as it happened, kind of rope-a-doped him, sat on the low ground instead, and opened up on the backline of Fireball.
Well played by Hong Kong Attitude to get out of the Dragon Blade, really nullified the effects of Apudo, who did so well to cap the first point, but that Dragon Blade was night and day difference between what he did on that first cap. So Hong Kong Attitude, good response from K4 onto the flank as well, multiple kills like you said, and another now set up defense from Hong Kong Attitude.
Jalen looking to find something with this pulse bomb. You can tell he's just looking for an early pick, and there's now managed to position him behind them. Finds the Fireball. They're not even on the payload. They're looking to take the fight win before even moving the payload, but they could just be playing for the payload, forcing Hong Kong Attitude down. Instead, they are the ones trying to climb up the tower here, and they keep taking the fight to Hong Kong Attitude. Hong Kong Attitude are happy to take it each and every time.
Fireball still not finding an opening here. Shailin getting the good flank as well, so for every sort of movement that Fireball get, like I said, they meet pushback all the time. By now, Hong Kong Attitude had already pushed to the third cap, so a lot of time used up for Fireball and not a lot of distance made. Hitting brick walls after brick walls.
Like I said, they really need to just start playing this payload here, but it seems that they are afraid of Hong Kong Attitude's ownership of the high ground. They keep trying to dive it, they keep trying to take it away from Hong Kong Attitude first, rather than forcing Hong Kong Attitude down. Kurlos picked up again
Already
at the
a bad
top
start.
of this one. That is another bad start to another bad fight already. And honestly, Fireball may just need to retreat now and take this one with the chin.
Really need to find a situation where Fireball can get the initial pick on now. With the Transcendence and the Sound Barrier coming up, they will be able to defend against the pushback from Hong Kong Attitude when the Tac Visor comes out, but they need some more tools of their own. They're about to hit 6 ultimate, so finally, they have everything they need, but it's a little bit late.
Desperately trying to get themselves healed up. Rocket forced to ult, and he's on this high ground trying to contest it, but now here's going to be the Nano Visor to come out from K4. Double Sound Barrier, and Kurlos has already used up that Transcendence. There's pretty much everything used on the side of Hong Kong Attitude, and now Apudo's able to open up, but they've lost Kurlos to the one tool Hong Kong Attitude had left, and Apudo, he finds nothing. Everyone scatters to the 4 winds. K4 shoots him out of the air, and Fireball again are beaten back, looking all the worse for wear as no one has any tools remaining.
Everybody used ultimates. The Hong Kong Attitude used everything they saved up. So did Fireball. Pulse Bomb got eaten. Incident got nothing out of that. Transcendence used to counter out the Tac Visor, but fortunately, Apudo, Dragon Blade, it's the second one kind of in a row where nothing really came out of it, and they're relying on Apudo to get these kills for Fireball to move on through.
I mean, Hong Kong Attitude know that, right? They know that the Dragon Blade's going to come out if they're all stood in one place, especially their squishier members. They're going to lose the fight. That is a great start. Getting Jin Kao took a dive there. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Shailin going hunter. Oh, what a pause. It's like that to be continued meme, isn't it? The pulse bomb up, Apudo in his sights. So what's going to happen?
It's a real cliffhanger.
That's where you see a diva fly out of nowhere and eat it. But
wow.
I don't know.
But yeah, I don't know either. I don't know what to say about this, man. Fireball are not looking good here.
They're about to hit into the overtime, and they've barely got enough cart movement. So despite all their efforts, even if they win this fight now, they will be guaranteed another fight which Hong Kong Attitude can defend right at the end of the Streets phase, right at the end of the second cap. And then even if they cap that one, barely enough time to push through the third cap, which for Eichenwalde is a very difficult task.
Very tricky indeed. So
especially on Eichenwalde, I mean,
they almost essentially have to rely on winning this fight so hard that they build up all of their ultimates for the third checkpoint.
Oh, here we go. Oh boy, what an anticlimax. He's gonna maybe look for it again, but Apudo this time has kind of switched around. Now Fireball, at long last, are actually playing the card. They're already getting a ton of distance, a ton more than they got before, and this actually means Hong Kong Attitude only get one fight. You're gonna have to try and go for it now. Shailin's Pulse Bomb goes wide onto Apudo. He's already had to retreat, but Apudo sniffs him out, finds him, now engaged in a duel to the death with K4, who is forced into full retreat. The Diva self-destruct on the payload gives Fireball a lot of distance. Jin Kao forced out of the mech and in a lot of trouble. Apudo He's finally got onto this
Visor.
high ground and he's got it on lockdown. Mango in a world of pain here, and they do look like they are set to get it through at the last minute here. That was, that's what happens when you play the payload.
Wow, I mean, and K4 and Honkai Attitude didn't even get their second fight because the kills, the deaths on their side were so staggered. I mean, they didn't have, it's not like Fireball won one good fight that Honkai Attitude held on to and then Honkai Attitude respawned as a full wave. Fireball got so much free push there, Honkai Attitude just let them push the card on through. They didn't contest.
It was almost like mind games, like Fireball's plan was to lose a lot of fights and then play the payload where Hong Kong Attitude weren't expecting it. Or I don't know, Hong Kong Attitude just didn't seem to react. And Zenado does get his pulse bomb eaten, and everyone's just kind of throwing ultimates at the wall here. Apudo included. K4 is the one holding onto his tactical visor, looking to nail down Rocket. Doesn't quite close it out, and Ting is the one who goes down instead. Self-destruct trades back on, and Rocket does finally get dropped, so they're looking set to hold this one out, and Fireball getting beaten back.
This will be devastating because Fireball need to rely on momentum to actually push through on the third cap. Any sort of ability to set up here for Hong Kong Attitude means I expect this to A, go into overtime, and B, will be very difficult for Fireball to cap on, assuming Hong Kong Attitude are going to get these ultimates first.
Fearless has actually swapped off the Zenyatta now. I do very much like this. No ultimates available for them though. The only thing that Hong Kong Attitude really have is this Pulse Bomb, but they will have a Nano Boost they can slap onto a Ting.
Or even K4, depends on who you want to get damage on. That's a stick. No, it's not a stick.
It looked like a stick, yeah, and he got a ton of damage as well, but he still gets the pressure onto Apudo with the headshots. There's the clean up, getting Zalf's already. Rocket, he can't retreat from that. And Fireball, they just kind of walked into the trap that Hong Kong Attitude had set up because they were so desperate for time. Now desperately trying to stall into the Nuggets, nothing with the Pulse Bomb. Apudo cannot make it to the points, and Hong Kong Attitude even up the series.
It's AHQ all over again. You lose the map that you pick and you win the map the other team picks. Seems to be the way to go, and it is very strange. It is very strange indeed, and you expected more out of Fireball onto Eichenwalde. A map which was so seemingly favored for them that you sort of put Fireball and Eichenwalde hand in hand, and I'm not too sure anymore.
Shaolin picking up play of the match. And, oh, okay, this isn't the one I thought it was. Well, they didn't still get the spray. They have to use the stock sprays. So they still do it. It's not quite the same as when you get like the well-played spray or something. It's Torbjorn, and then you just hammer away at that. You can only use the base one, but they still do it. I think out of like sheer habit.
Some of them still use. Some of them have been using the Pakimari spray. Actually, I've seen that.
Oh.
So they're not locked into the default spray. Maybe they're allowed the other one.
Maybe.
Right, so Fireball, they lose Eichenwalde against Honkai Attitude. And
Ouch.
it's a tough one because, like I said, this is their pick. And we did expect a little bit more result-wise out of this because even on their defense didn't look too hot. Honkai Attitude pushed them back very cleanly and I would say easily. And then on Fireball's attack, just constant brick wall defense coming out for Honkai Attitude. Constantly, Fireball found it difficult to find any angles to really approach. And it wasn't until Honkai Attitude just let them push the cart, which was, again, a very strange kind of move from Honkai Attitude post-unpause. That was the only sort of breathing space Fireball had all game.
And like I said as well, for a long time there was this, frankly, utter failure to play for the cart itself. Fireball were too busy, I feel, trying to take the high ground. And sure, if you secure the high ground, you're going to secure the cart movement anyway, but those two things aren't mutually exclusive. You can also move the cart and just play defensively around that high ground that the enemy team possesses, or harass them up there while you're moving the cart, but they didn't really do that. And it is something they have done before. It's something they've done very well. And Hong Kong Attitude did do exactly that when they were on the attack. They did that extremely well. I feel like both on the attack and defense, actually Fireball were the weaker team, which is devastating because that was their pick.
It is absolutely true. They were the weaker team on attack and defense. I don't know about those exact reasons, but look, Fireball, they failed to get any kills walking into the streets phase, and they were constantly picked up to start with, so it's difficult for them to get any push. They end up just feeding members. They can't get any area control that allows them to get the cart push. It's difficult for them to even jump on the cart because they're surrounded and collapsed as soon as that happens. And the only reason they got any cart push, I feel, was right at the end there, Hong Kong Attitude sat by. when they shouldn't have.
They kind of did. They were also, I feel, maybe trying to be a bit too clever. And funnily enough, we actually got that in the pause. You know, you could see what Shaolin was trying to do with going onto a Pudo, and then the rest of the team was set up around the other side. I feel like they tried to get a bit too clever for this, you know, final fight that we'll use to close out the game. You know, we'll take them by surprise, which wasn't particularly necessary. So on the one hand, they did kind of give it to them, but on the other hand, they weren't just, you know, sitting idle by. They were trying to do something. It just didn't work.
It kind of fell a little bit flat, I suppose.
Yeah.
But to bring it down to a little bit more like individual players, if you compare the Genji and the Tracer on both attack and defense, you know, Apudo and K4 was really where it came down to a lot of it. I feel like K4 played the defensive soldier a whole lot better. Whenever K4 was under threat from being dived, he just survived way more situations than Apudo ever did. I think the only time Apudo managed to really get a foothold was when Fireball managed to wrest back the high ground on Streets phase on defense, and even then they lost at the very next fight. K4 was constantly up there, and I never felt like he was under much threat.
What was really devastating was for Apudo to sort of get no effect on Dragon Blades. And
About
it forced,
3 in a row,
it forced him to change off Genji actually and change back onto the Soldier, which wasn't going too well for him on the defense. So it almost seemed like on the defense, playing the Soldier wasn't effective. He had to change on the Genji, which was better. Then on the attack, we expect the Genji to be better. Suddenly that wasn't effective anymore, and he had to change onto the Soldier, which unfortunately still wasn't very effective on the attack.
And I feel like up until that point, actually, Apudo's Genji had been getting more mileage than K4's Genji. Now, granted, K4 didn't really pull out that Genji on the defense, so you don't get that same comparison, but it's a shame to see Apudo fail to kind of pull that major weight. And there was that one moment right at the end, sorry, not right at the end, actually. I suppose it was the end of capping the first point. There was the one time I feel Apudo really managed to make something great happen for his team. But even then, it didn't feel too convincing.
Well, that was super convincing because if he hadn't done that, they would have lost the fight. All the ultimates were in their favor of Honko attitude.
Hence not convincing, but it's not convincing for the team.
So that's the problem, because this is Fireball sinking back into old habits where it is Apudo needs to carry or nothing happens. And if that's the case, well, Fireball aren't going to win these games, because there was a fight where Apudo had to carry for them to win the game. And then when Apudo couldn't for the other fights we had Dragon Blade, Fireball couldn't get it done.
And even the fight where he did win the game, because he was the one having to carry and not his entire team just doing very well, the fight was only barely won because they only had about a third to go as well. They didn't have enough time to go and contest the high ground. You saw as soon as that gate opened for the payload, Hong Kong Attitude, they were already up on the castle. In fact, I think they'd already got a pick at that point, so there was no contest for taking them down off the high ground, which was the opposite for Fireball on defense.
Exactly. Well, in any case, good start for Fireball. A little lackluster on Eichenwalde, and the series sits at 1-1. Next up will be Hong Kong Attitude's pick for Assault, but that will be coming on up after this short break, so tune in for that and don't go anywhere. Welcome back. That break was just long enough for me to pick up my suit from the dry cleaners, so I don't know what your excuse is. We are now tied at 1-1 in the series. Top one of the day, Hong Kong Attitude versus Fireball on Hong Kong Attitude's home day. Gentlemen, this has already been interesting.
Yeah, well, everyone gets the map win on the map that they didn't pick, which is a shocker.
Yeah. And already the next map pick is through, of course, this being Hong Kong Attitude's pick. They're going to Volskaya, which doesn't surprise me too much, actually, purely because of that Sombra.
Yep, Mango Jai, this is his plan. Master plan, keep playing the Sombra. This is what they're good at, this is what they've been practicing. They're one of the teams that have, I would say, better utilized the Sombra in the competition
It's
so
the
far.
Mango with the Plango.
That should
Yeah.
not work. But I'm glad it kind of did.
Well, it's because, like, plan goes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I understand.
It was all planned.
Right. Well, yeah. So the interesting thing about Mango on that Sombra as well is that on Anubis, he did bring it out on attack. And in fact, just very preemptively went and hacked up all the packs in the second point before they'd even capped the first point. Volskaya is a map where I'm not sure that's as possible. I don't think there's as much space, time, distance to be able to do so. And also bringing out Sombra on attack on the first point as well is a little bit awkward because...
I mean, you certainly wouldn't do it right, but they do have it for the defense, and on the counter side of that, I don't feel like Fireball are particularly comfortable running this Sombra themselves. We've seen them do it a little bit, but it's never looked particularly great, and unless they've practiced it a lot, certainly not on the level of Hong Kong Attitude.
I feel like Fireball are going to have a very, very tough defense. They're going to slip through because they're inexperienced on the Sombra pick, and also maybe they might not even run it, which I feel like at this point may even be a better idea for them. Just commit to just shutting down the attack coming out from Hong Kong Attitude, just finding their path, which is usually very, very telegraphed by the attacking team. I mean, very clearly they either go left or right, you can tell. And just splitting up your forces, committing the dives, making sure everyone goes in safe, specifically Rocket, who needs to stay alive during the defense.
One thing Fireball have done quite well is if we take University as the example, they have been able to pressure out Sombra compositions quite well, at least the one time that they managed to get it done. So the possibility is there. I want to believe that Fireball can make a repeat of their winning performance on University, and they're going to need that to break past a solid defense from Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, one of the most significant differences, though, just to kind of jump onto that, is the timing of that window is a little bit smaller. Of course, on Control, both teams arrive at the point roughly the same time, and there is a window where first Sombra is hacking the packs, and then has to charge up EMP. On Assault, that first part isn't a factor because the defending team gets there first. Sombra has already hacked up the packs. There's only that window where she is charging EMP. That is your opportunity to go. But you're quite right. Fireball actually very consistently took advantage of that window, no matter how big or small it was. So I'm excited to see them at least attempt to do the same on here.
Fireball have been a team that can play the aggressive style quite well. They can be in your face at the right time, the correct targets usually. So I want to see that. I want to see that version of Fireball, because the version of Fireball that came out in Oasis and won that, that's what they need to be able to bring here in Volskaya.
Absolutely is. And trying to figure out who this is on defense first, because I'm not actually seeing a Sombra.
It will be Fireball in defense, most likely.
Join me.
There you have it. And that is, yeah, well, I mean, the lack of Sombra kind of speaks to that anyway. But yeah, this is a very interesting setup, and I think I may have seen a Widowmaker off in the distance there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe it is a Sombra. I'm not quite sure. We'll find out in a moment. There we go. So yeah, Fireball on the defense, no Sombra. There's just a very French-looking Tracer.
French-looking Tracer.
Like,
I don't think the real Tracer would like that.
After the Mondata cinematic, they actually made quite good friends and swapped outfits. In any case, Hong Kong Attitude out the gate, already gonna look to make this fast side play. Fireball.
Yeah, Fireball are in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Entirely the wrong place.
It has been spotted out now though, so Fireball will at least know that this is happening and can start to react to this. But actually, they're in a bit of an awkward situation. It's almost like they're attacking the point.
Yeah, Fireball expected Hong Kong Attitude to come in that side, and of course, you have two choices here, and Fireball, they lost the coin flip. They do, however, get the first kill, so they can open up this defense if they want to.
That was quite a crucial one as well, and they're already getting the pressure down. Unfortunately, they lose Zalfix, but they've actually managed to get themselves set up enough on the one bit of high ground they did have, and they've kept Rocket alive through that sleep. Now they're the ones putting on the pressure. That's Jin Kao done, and they should be able to repel this one. So they didn't do themselves many favors on the setup, and unfortunately, like you said, lost the coin flip, but actually struck back quite well, to be honest.
Yeah, and actually, because they took the opposite ground, it kind of unintentionally counterplayed Hong Kong Attitude, because the two things that could happen for them is either they catch out Hong Kong Attitude on their attack and get the drop on them, or they don't and they set themselves up on the opposite high ground, which is exactly what happened, and Hong Kong Attitude lose their initiative.
Yeah, now actually they're a little bit the worse for wear in terms of ultimates as well. Fireball will get theirs online just a little bit beforehand. Kylan, you can tell, already hunting around the side, trying to see who he can pressure, but that is a hard route to go. It's a long, very exposed run, and meanwhile, NZNR can be doing the same on the other side.
Oh, well, they got to be careful, Fireball, that is, to not let the first third go. That is going to be the second, the first kill that really opens things up, but not if Hong Kong Attitude can get a couple in response.
Apudo does trade back onto a Ting though, so even though they've lost Rocket and they've lost Ninth's mech, they've still got the tactical visor, they've still got the nano boost that they want, and Hong Kong Attitude are the ones kind of getting beaten back here, unfortunately losing NZNR, but
they have to attack visor.
Yeah, Shaolin getting that health pack was actually huge. They pretty much have to use that attack visor, you're quite right. They've taken their time in executing on it, kind of clustering on the stairwell, just barely staying alive. Hong Kong Attitude getting onto the point now, haven't quite got a third, but now committing a Ting up to this high ground to try and ensure that they can secure it. That's going to be the tactical visor out. They're trying to stop this third from going through. Has just barely worked as Apudo cleans up 3. They really let that one run down to the wire, but they do strike back, and if anything, actually that patience played off. A Ting now giving them a ton of ultimate
charge. That's a lot of kills from Rocket.
Yeah. Look at Ting, he's so nice, just giving away all that free damage.
Now he's kind of stuck. He has to find a way to sort of suicide and reset with his team before NZNR resets it for him. So a little bit sad for him, and for Fireball, it was a very tight situation because there was a moment where I thought the Nano Visor was going to get nothing. directly into a Ting who timed the bubble well enough that a lot of the damage from the Tech Visor immediately went into the bubble and hit nothing, but he managed to find 3 kills, and that was the 3 kills that Abuda got that really secured this defense.
Yeah, and Ting also kind of taking a while to go down there, gave NZNR that pulse bomb, and actually has allowed Abuda to nearly completely charge that tactical visor back up. Less than a minute remaining now. Hong Kong Attitude still actually struggling to find an end.
Oh, well, that was pretty tough for Shai Lin. Takes a lot of damage on the entry here. Now, pulse bomb from him would really be great to start this fight, just like NZNR did in the last fight.
Here they go. It's a Ting trying to get his feet on the point first. There's a very early sound barrier and it's getting nothing. They do take out a Pudo, but a Ting is getting really pressured. Unfortunately, both pulse bombs, never mind. Shailin's pulse bomb does not go wide. They're the ones starting to secure the kills. Rocket, though, try to keep this one in lockdown. But now it's really only NZNR to do something crazy here. Ninth does not get the self-destruct off, and NZNR takes a dive. Unfortunately, they will not be able to hold out the first point. They are going to have to try and make the defense happen on the second. And they're swapping to Sombra.
A little bit surprised with the Pudo coming out playing so aggressively because he could have kept the high ground because he came out into the open. Shailin found him, tagged him with the pulse bomb, didn't actually get the kill with the pulse bomb, but did enough damage that he finished him off long range anyway. I mean, losing Apudo at the start of that, last time Apudo kind of saved the fight with the Tech Visor, this time taken out early without having to use the Tech Visor. Well, they lose their ability to stay in the fight, even with the kills from Rocket, not enough.
This one is a bit of an uphill battle now for Hong Kong Attitude, though. Rocket has ulted very early, but that's not a bad plan here. It buys a lot of time for Kurlos to get that EMP up, and you can tell he's really trying hard to kind of put for it. They are going to be able to deal with Rocket here, though. They've got themselves a nice window. The EMP still not available. Will they commit?
They're going to have to. This is a good window for them, and remember they're playing against Sombra, so if they want to time this properly, they have to go before the EMP comes up because Hong Kong Attitude have ultimate. They kind of
here they go. That's the nano visor, and the EMP is just not quite there yet. Apudo does have his own. They're going to throw out the self-destruct. They do get 9, and Apudo actually Shailin threading the needle on that one. One trade back out of Kurlos onto K4, but Hong Kong Attitude are the ones on this point here. The EMP comes out, but it's very late. There's no one to follow up on it, aside from NZNR, who is too busy getting pressured. He's stuck off to the side of this fight. This is going to give Hong Kong Attitude a third. Ting onto this point. Apudo now finally on the point trying to stall it out, but it's only a stall. He's not going to get any mileage from that ultimate. They're just being pressured back. This is Hong Kong Attitude territory now, finally getting a couple of crucial kills through just before the third comes through and barely beating back the onslaught.
And it's unfortunate because Hong Kong Attitude didn't have quite enough tools to be able to clean that 1-5. Well, speaking of cleaning up, they get so many of those exit kills onto Hong Kong Attitude. This is going to do wonders for charging the ultimates back up. The nano visor from Hong Kong Attitude kind of had a null effect. It just wasn't enough. They couldn't even get a third. 1/3 would have been really good for Hong Kong Attitude, and now the full reset. They're on the back foot.
And on the back end of that as well, they got so obsessed with beating back Apudo with that visor running. They kind of let the rest of their team sit exposed. Again, though, Rocket does go down at the top of the fight. He will be able to respawn here before Hong Kong Attitude can really commit, I feel, because Hong Kong Attitude don't exactly have any ults to go off. But hey, never mind. They've now picked NZNR. Now's the time to go as they get 9th out of the mech, and Fireball are completely scattered and split. What on earth is Alphonse doing up here? He's got no teammates around him. He's going to go down on the point, and now they're looking set to cut off the neck of Fireball as they try and come out of the base. NZNR needs to get a huge pulse bomb to turn this around. Kurlos in position. The EMP gets it out. What can they find from it? Because Kurlos is already dead. The pulse bomb. It does catch Jinkao's mech, but they lose 9th as well, and they're not exactly getting the pressure onto the right members here. K4 committing this tactical visor. Good ult from Rocket to force them off to the side of this fight, but Hong Kong Attitude are still getting the kills now. Shailin able to get a Dragon Blade through that entire push, and they're looking to secure this one out. Minute 20 still roughly on the clock, and Hong Kong Attitude get the cap.
That all came off the top of killing Rocket at the start. One more time, twice now for Hong Kong Attitude to take on the second cap. Rocket picked up very early, NZNR caught out as well. Two of your frontliners down very, very early, 4v6. Nothing Fireball can do about that. Diva as well, 9th, losing mech, losing his own life. Doesn't even matter that Kurlos is EMP. Like I've said previously, EMP requires members, requires people to be able to get on and take advantage of it. EMP does nothing if you do not have the players to actually secure the kills, which is exactly what happened for Fireball. So easy cap up from Hong Kong Attitude. Basic mistakes from Fireball that really cost them that one, losing 2 members crucially.
Yeah, I honestly think both of those EMPs were quite poor actually out of Kurlos. The first one was far too late in the fight. It was just that if he respawned and went, I need to use my ultimate here because otherwise they're going to cap. But yeah, that exact situation. They didn't have anyone to follow up. The second situation was pretty much the same.
Wasn't his fault though.
The second situation was a bit the same. That time they did have NZNR, but I mean, you don't need to land an EMP to be able to land a pulse bomb. The only thing that you really get rid of there is the defense matrix, which can eat the pulse bomb. Most of that still comes down to NZNR's ability to land a stick, and he didn't despite the EMP, so again, it just kind of went to waste.
It wasn't really Kurlos there. It's just the unfortunate situation of
The DPS dying.
the EMP there, because playing the EMP, playing Sombra defensively there, you need initiative. You need to be the team dropping the EMP and starting the fight and initiating onto the other team. If you're on the back foot, EMP does nothing to save you. It's not an Earth Shatter, it's not a Graviton Surge, it does absolutely zero to bring you back into the game if you're so far behind.
Yeah, you can't have Rocket getting picked at the top of the fight. You can't have NZNR getting picked immediately after that, and that is what happened at the end there. I feel like Fireball, they were positioned really strangely on that second point defense. I feel like that's what it all came down to. They didn't do themselves any favors.
To be honest, I think Hong Kong Attitude played it smartly because they know how to play against Sombra composition in terms of where is Rocket going to go to get the health pack. When he takes damage, they meet Rocket there, they take him out. So, you know, smartly played by Hong Kong Attitude. Got a good credit there.
And it's almost like Fireball were expecting that they could just, you know, let Rocket get low and then he'd be able to get out alive. A little bit, I don't know, not too well thought through perhaps, but in any case, yeah, unsurprising Sombra defense on the first point here for Hong Kong Attitude. Mango is really, really good at this right now.
It's something he's definitely practiced a lot. K4, a little bit low health there, so for Fireball, if they can get the kills, if they can get the early positioning here, they'll be able to take it, but they've got to make sure they do this before the ultimates on Hong Kong Attitude come up, because Hong Kong Attitude, they're happy to wait.
Yes, they are, and this is exactly what they like. They've got that health pack control, which means there isn't really anywhere for NZNR to retreat to. Oh, the EMP did go off in a very tight space, but actually it's Hong Kong Attitude funneling into that space, and despite that health pack being theirs, Fireball own this ground, and they get a rack of kills up, and they're going to get themselves right on top of this point. There are no ultimates to sort this one out for Hong Kong Attitude. K4 forced to take a dive. Did he jump or was he pushed? And they're going to get the cap through.
I want to say both because he jumped and the push is going to help them make it over. So, yeah.
Just needed a bit of encouragement.
Oh boy. Great attack from Fireball. Really baited the offense, the defense from Hong Kong Attitude, because even with the EMP coming out, I've said already, EMP does nothing.
Big commit. They want to snowball. They do not want to waste any time. NZNR does unfortunately go down to K4, who barely kept himself alive through that. Oh, Rocket, no! Whiffs the jump. And Fireball, really early commit with that sound barrier. They were about to get a Transcendence and a Self-Destruct and a Primal Rage. They could have actually done it because Hong Kong Attitude did nothing, but failing that one push there now sets them behind.
Yeah, and the initiative goes in the hand of Hong Kong Attitude. So, Fireball, they bought a decent amount of time on the first cap there. I'll give them that because Hong Kong Attitude struggled. They struggled to get that first cap down, which is where Fireball were really good. Now, it's kind of like the reverse situation. Fireball needed to be able to get it done on the second cap, and the second cap is so much harder than the first.
Mango already looking to get into the back line of this team. He's got that EMP available, so it is very hard for them to deal with now as NZNR gets picked. They have to bait out some of these ultimates. They need to bait out a lot of these ultimates, but if you're getting picked before the fight even starts, you don't even get an opportunity to do that. And if they go into this in a 6 versus 6 with ultimates, that is not an even playing field because of that EMP, you just get to use none of yours.
Unless you manage to get yours out before the EMP really takes
Somehow.
effect. So, you know, what you can,
Or
you have to be able to time and position this properly, kind of even bait the EMP. You can play quite slowly here, wait for Hong Kong Attitude to try and make the engage around the entrance, then back out, because a bad EMP engage from Hong Kong Attitude could spell the death of their defense.
Well, they are committing as Knight goes in, the EMP is there, Mango gets picked off, that's how you do it. And look at this, getting completely blocked up here as K4. They throw out the self-destruct, and Apudo is the one off the back of this, getting some good kills through, but good dive by Jin Cal. Shaolin finds one with the pulse bomb, and Fireball, the wind is out of their sails. The ship has run aground, not even a third capped. And that EMP, it wasn't devastating, but it did just seem to give Hong Kong Attitude the room to breathe.
It did. It just gave Hong Kong Attitude enough room to get in there. Still holding onto a couple of ultimates, and Fireball, they had to blow a bunch of theirs. They wanted to play into the EMP. There was an option there where maybe for Fireball, they could have saved. They could have saved for that fight, came in back after an eco and had a big advantage, and maybe time it so they could play around the EMP. So just didn't quite happen for them, and now they're still in the back foot.
K4 nearly went down there. If he had have gone down, I think that would have been a very different situation. There is a good run of ultimates here, and if Fireball commit now, which they really should do, there is a window until that EMP comes up. But Hong Kong Attitude are going to do everything they can to close that window. Oh, good bomb out. Doesn't quite close out the kills, but the pressure is on now. Fireball They are kind of wreaking havoc on this back line. They've already forced out a sound barrier, and Rocket is going absolutely big. That hack means nothing. He only needs to left click there. The self-destruct out of Jin Kao does not find anything. K4 pressured out. Mango finally has an EMP, but same problem as Kurlos had. Where's the DPS to follow it up? Shaolin is being busy pressured out. Mango has to go into full retreat. Apudo is set up on this high ground. A team finally gets one trade back. They haven't quite got the third through, but they should be able to close out a few more kills. But oh, no way. K4 manages to get back out onto the point. Apudo does not close out the last few kills, and once again, they will not get a third.
It's really disappointing for Fireball because they had everything sort of going for them. They dodged the EMP, got some very necessary picks, but not enough picks to really get themselves on there. They just didn't quite have the snowball that Hong Kong Attitude did. This is now going to be collecting the EMP all over again. Fireball, they're going to do this one more time, and without a third, they're not even available to chip out at this point.
Yeah, that's the thing. The 3 minutes kind of getting passed by there means, yeah, it's hard to chip out. You have to maybe get a third and then get the 2/3 in a single push. You can't just go bit by bit. And it was disappointing to not get that first third in that initial push after the first point cap as well. So overall, Fireball have really struggled to get themselves a start in the second point offense.
It was a good play from Hong Kong Attitude, though. This will be another good play. Looking for the EMP engaged. Takevisor should follow straight after this as well.
Fireball have it. Oh, there's the good EMP out. Ninth will not be able to, actually, sorry, he does just get back in the mech, but Rocket getting closed out. That's a great way to start because they're not really converting many kills. Apudo, though, with the Tac Visor running, the Nano Boost as well. He hasn't been able to close anyone else, though. K4, he's got his own Tac Visor running, but he has got pressure off. It is wasting, but Apudo, he didn't really get much with that Tactical Visor, but now he's able to set up on the point, and he's just kind of opening up on everything. Hong Kong Attitude got split. This is absolutely huge. Apudo, though, is getting forced out. That could be the window Hong Kong Attitude need as the respawns come in. It is now all on NZNR to get extra kills if they want to get the second third, which they desperately need. They've got this far. They don't want to give up anything, but they lose ninth's mech. Apudo is trying to leg it back to the point. NZNR playing a dangerous game off to the side here, and they're the ones losing members. Rocket is down. They have to give up all that progress on the second third, and they only have time for one last good fight.
And that second third would have meant so much for Fireball's attack. It would have really cut down the time they need to get this one done. An overtime push is kind of what they have to hope for there, but positioning for Fireball looking good. Losing Apudo at the end of the take visor was probably what spelled the doom for Fireball's push. Keep Apudo up, keep your healers alive as well, get the sustain in there. You're right, one more push to try and get 2/3.
And good target selection by a Ting, by the way. It would have been very easy to sit on the point going, we need to contest them here, but he knew that if he was able to take out Apudo, the rest of his team would have a better chance at winning after they respawn. Again, NZNR goes wide on the pulse bomb and already used the recall. Sorry, K4 now goes down. And this is kind of an opening for both teams. Just depends on who capitalizes more because Rocket is out of the picture as well. Mango gets pressured out, but so does NZNR. This is too messy for it to be good for Fireball. They have to back off now or they lose their only window left.
Yep, and one-on-one trades are not quite good enough. You can't go 1-to-1 here. You got to go at least 2-for-1, get a full team wipe. EMP, I believe, actually got used in the middle of that, if I'm not mistaken.
It did. It's already back.
Mango's basically charged it back up again. No tac vice for Apudo either, which means, you know, a lot of the tools that Fireball had to get them that first third, they're not going to have this time around.
They have to go, though. No two ways about it. Apudo nearly has the tactical visor, but they're already getting pressured. Look at this. What is the angle going to be? The sleep goes wide on a Ting. Apudo nearly has that visor, and you can tell they're relying on that, but here's the EMP out. Cuts them off at the jugular, and they commit. K4 opens up with the tactical visor and nano boost. They've already got 3, and it's already looking grim for Fireball. Can Apudo swing back? No, he can't. He's getting completely blocked up by Jin Kao. Gonna try and turn around to at least get Shaolin, but even that eludes him, and they get completely beaten back. Hong Kong Attitude on their own map pick are going to pick themselves up a win, push themselves one win up in the series.
So calculated, so well planned out. Hong Kong Attitude. They know this defense inside and out. They know exactly what they need to do to achieve this. The only blunder they had was that first cap defense where, I don't know, they kind of fell into Fireball's trap, which is very well played by Fireball. Yeah. But if you want to compare the two teams' attack and defenses, Fireball had a good first cap defense and poor second cap defense. I'd rather take Hong Kong Attitude's approach, which was more a failed first cap but an extremely successful second cap defense.
I'm going to be honest as well. Look, you don't have to run Sombra on the defense here. I mean, just because we see it all the time doesn't mean you have to do it. It's just one of the places you can do it. I would have almost liked to see Fireball stick with not having a Sombra there. I mean, Assault second point already favors the defenders because of the respawn advantage. If you maybe wanted to run triple DPS or heck stick with a 2-2-2 there, I feel like actually Fireball would have done themselves a ton more favors. Look at all the times an EMP went off and the DPS was already dead and it just didn't matter.
To be honest, that's not because of Sombra. That's just because of how they were playing the composition. They're not. The Sombra is not the problem there.
No, the Sombra isn't the problem, but they don't have to do it either.
They also don't have to do it. But the reason Sombra failed wasn't because Sombra was there. So the existence of Sombra wasn't why Sombra wasn't good. It's how Fireball played. They played that poorly. They lost members where they shouldn't have. They let Hong Kong Attitude snowball, and then when the EMP was available, it was a non-factor. So yeah, not refined enough. You look at how Hong Kong Attitude played it, that's how you play Sombra.
Imagine a team though, right? Imagine a team that just had an Ana on that point, Rocket takes some damage, he goes diving back, and instead of the team already, waiting for him by the hacked health pack, there is no hacked health pack, it's actually just an Ana, Biotic Grenade goes out and Rocket's fine. And that's a completely different fight, that's a completely different situation, and it's one that Hong Kong Attitude can't leverage. I mean, I respect Fireball going, look, Sombra defense is kind of the order of the day right now, let's try and execute that, but again, if you don't have to, man, stick to what's comfortable, stick to your guns. Hong Kong Attitude do it because they're comfortable on it and they're good at it. And that's why they did it on first point too. And I didn't think Fireball were going to go for it at all, but I really want to see this either drop this Sombra altogether or really work hard at getting it right.
The other difference as well is that because Hong Kong Attitude runs Sombra on first point, they don't have to worry about getting it all set up on the second point. Sure, you've got to run around and hack the health packs as well, but there's a pretty good chance that you're still close to getting your ultimate up anyway, and even if you're not, then that's the worst case scenario, which is exactly what Fireball opted into, which was running that Sombra out and then frantically trying to hack the health packs, get ready for the onslaught that came. And we saw how that went for them. They lost a few members at the start, they couldn't get a good EMP, and then when they finally did, Rocket had already died, someone else had already died, and it was a desperation EMP instead.
Yeah, let's move away a bit from Sombra now, because I think the other major thing I want to pick out from that matchup was Apudo versus K4 there, because it constantly felt like even when all the tools were there, even when the position was actually good, Apudo was just not getting as much mileage. And that was one half himself, and the other half was Hong Kong Attitude were reacting to him better than Fireball reacted to K4, I feel.
I think both divas were actually reacting to the tactical visors really well. I think we didn't actually see huge tactical visors until near the end of both attacks. K4 clearly got the better ones. I think he got a triple or quad kill at one point. So there was a few in there, but the majority of them could have got so much more value if there wasn't a diva in their face.
I mean, to be honest, Apudo actually managed to save a few fights himself as well with the tech visor, specifically on the first cap. That's why Hong Kong Attitude struggled so much to actually cap it out. And there was a real opportunity for Fireball to hold it up, but it came down to Apudo dropping off, going a little bit aggressive, and Shailen catching him out. And if that didn't happen, Apudo was sitting on another tag visor that could have been the full defense from Fireball. This would have been a very different result.
Yeah, and it was very good play by Apudo there to kind of, read the situation, know that he was going to go wheel around, knowing that the backline was exposed enough to take advantage of. But then, of course, we saw the other side of that where it was almost like Hong Kong Attitude weren't going to fall prey to the same trick twice. And on their offense, Fireball constantly on that second point, they'd open up with the tactical visor and everyone would just kind of disappear, like you flick the lights on and all the rats run back into the walls is what it was kind of like. And suddenly there were no members to be in Apudo's sights. It just didn't matter.
That's another big part of it as well, I suppose.
Yeah,
but
flicking on the lights. Got you in my lights.
I've got no one in my sights.
Yeah, exactly.
But
which is always so heartbreaking as well when you actually do have that ultimate out and you just can't find anything. I mean, it's a squishy team there with Hong Kong Attitude. If the diva isn't in your face, you like to think that you're actually going to have really good results from
and this is why the Sombra is good, because it nullifies the diva, which then allows K4 to get a lot done with the tech visor. Exactly. And it's something that Hong Kong Attitude is, they're very prepared to be able to execute quite well. They're one of the better teams that run the Sombra, alongside, I would say, Flash Wolves, and it's very competitive.
Right, well now moving forward, Fireball, they're not out of it yet, and they do have the opportunity to tie up the series, specifically on what will now be their own map pick. We are going to Escort. Do we think there is anything in particular they want to pull out? Do we feel that there is anything they're particularly favored on? Or is this just going to be a stab in the dark?
I think it's going to be Route 66. In fact, I'm pretty confident.
You're very confident?
I think Fireball will pick that. Oh, wow. I'm pretty good at this.
Yeah, right.
You saw that on the second
He
screen,
saw it.
didn't you? I had to be looking at you. You were looking at the screen, you cheeky. Well, I'll be honest, I'm not surprised. If you had have said Route 66 before that had come up, I would have actually agreed with you anyway, because it is they're really the only team that actually goes for this, and it is one of the maps I think they are comfortable on. Again, they are an off the beaten track kind of team. They don't just go to Dorado or Gibraltar, they take you to Route 66.
Plus, I mean, Route 66 is fantastic for their composition, right? You run that Winston-based composition, 222, a lot of mobility to get on top of the servo, and then all the other levels of elevation that's on street space, third checkpoint, so many places to get in there, get your dive on, get a Pudo onto that Genji so he can challenge everyone who is just turtling up on the high ground. Hong Kong Attitude definitely going to be taking a lot of high ground defense. The thing is, they are going to run a lot of dive of their own, so when you're trucking along the payload as well, you need to make sure that either the enemy team is dead or people that are on the payload have protection.
It's actually a very good opportunity now for K4 to kind of just stick onto the Soldier, because the Soldier on defensively is probably going to be the best pick here. And a Puro, you're not going to see too much Genji. You might see a bit of Genji on the attack, but essentially on defense, you almost have to run the Soldier every defensive position on the defense. Stage 1 with Big Earl, stage 2 with sort of the high ground and the bridge, and then back on number 3 as well because it's so closed. Yeah, this almost feels like it works a little bit better for Hong Kong Attitude. They can flex a bit more as well because they can play the double tanks, triple tanks.
Yeah.
And for Fireball, they are kind of still stuck on their composition.
Yeah, I think you mentioned the triple tank there is quite a significant thing because, yeah, it is something that Fireball, look, they can flex onto it if they really need, but I would never say it's something they're super comfortable on. That being said, I wouldn't quite say Hong Kong Attitude are comfortable on it either. When they have pulled it out, it's never really worked, so, I mean, they can, but it's really hard to say who this may favor more, and I'm almost tempted to say it doesn't really favor anyone in particular.
Well, should be a very even game then.
Yeah.
Should be a very...
No one wins. No one gets any payload distance at all.
Yeah, it becomes a full draw. Is that actually...
Can
you actually get a full draw if no one touches the payload? Theoretically, is that?
I mean, I get, like, theoretically, I suppose,
on paper,
yeah.
that's
So,
possible.
yeah. I mean, surely it has to be coded in somehow. You know, what happens if no one touches the payload? I wouldn't actually be surprised though to see this one go to time back.
I would probably say that Hong Kong Attitude hold out Fireball's attack at some stage, and Hong Kong Attitude, depending if Hong Kong Attitude attack first, they eventually get it over the line at the end. Maybe as we approach the overtime, if Fireball attack, I don't see Fireball pushing all the way, unfortunately.
Well, there you have it. That's a bold claim. A bold claim by me to say it's going to time bank, and then another bold claim by yourself. So, well, we'll
Only
have to
one of
see.
those two things can ring true.
I don't think this is quite going to be what we see on the offense out of Fireball. Just a hunch.
Well, actually, it's going to be K4 starting up the defense on the Genji, so a very aggressive defense. They don't want to play the roof, hold the roof positioning strategy. They want to play this very aggressively and even potentially going to use the Widow there for Fireball, but not going to be the case. It's going to be mirror compositions.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest, if it had been a Pudo hovering Widow, then maybe, but Rocket Widow, not so much. Yeah, this is that aggressive defense, but unless they convert kills, this is actually just potentially an overextension, and that does seem to be what it is. They kind of have to
They only lose one.
Yeah, they do only lose one, but they get forced back, and they're not really going to get to properly regroup. This is now a window for Fireball to go on the aggressive if they want. Payload is underway, and you can already see a Pudo and Rocket are sniffing around Big Earls here, looking to get onto this back line. Look at how well set up they are, completely surrounding Hong Kong Attitude.
Only thing Hong Kong Attitude can do here is go for a counter dive, and they actually get a kill onto Rocket. So that's the counter dive now starting. Hong Kong Attitude don't have the option to sit on the roof here. They just have to dive.
Yeah, and they are going to go very aggressively now. Well done by them, and they catch Kurlos in that. Shaolin really recognizing that that was the only option they had available. Pudo trying to do the same on the back line of Hong Kong Attitude, but he's not really got much of a front line left on his own team to follow it up. Does get taken down. They got a few through in that one, but Shaolin is still here wreaking havoc. Payload is underway, but there's time here for Hong Kong Attitude to respawn. Ting is about to rejoin the fray here. And Zin are actually getting that kill. This is still, it could be anyone's, but Fireball, I think,
It's
rightful to back up.
I think Fireball going to get this now. They have all the positioning available to them. Honko Attitude kind of played that quite risky. Another counter dive, so they still want to hold
Yeah,
this.
they're really going aggressive. This is why I felt Fireball were rightful to back up, because they did read that a team was back onto this one, and they kind of looped around the side, but Fireball then kind of went, oh, I guess it's open, we'll go in. Good response there by Apudo. They've got a good run of ultimates if they want to commit them, but if they can win this without, they will do so. Rocket's going to commit his ult on top of that self-destruct already being there. That forces out a sound barrier, and this is actually not too bad for them, especially if they can get that extra run of kills through, but they're having a hard time of it. Zalf's still trying to run back to the fight. This means the Dragon Blade has to be committed, and now they don't really have many ultimates available at all. Apudo does pick up a crucial few, but they're not closing it out in the tanks. They're not really getting the work done, and the payload has actually been stopped up now.
Yeah, well, a good gambit from Hong Kong Attitude. Not stopped up enough though, because they get off, and the cap goes through anyway. So
They
Fireball.
step off for a split second, and
Fireball get
Zalf's
it done.
still there. That was cheeky, man. That was unfortunate for Hong Kong Attitude. Now losing K4 on the back end as well. This is where snowballs begin.
It is. Honko Attitude actually have a decent amount of ults though, so it's not going to be a real snowball. Maybe in terms of just momentum with positioning, because Fireball is still forcing this defense out from Honko Attitude, but Honko Attitude, like I said, they can't afford to sit around, they have to dive. Their entire defense is dive.
Very aggressive by a Ting. It is going to pay off because he gets a Pudo and may just get, will get Rocket here as well, but he's left the rest of his team a little bit exposed here. Good sleep onto him actually keeps Kurlos alive for now. K4 really desperate to get that one. He does indeed get it, and Fireball, they went a little bit too hard trying to get that high ground that they felt was rightfully theirs, and Ting kind of closed the door on it.
And this is a really good defense so far from Honko Attitude. They know what this composition does. They know how to play this defense, and if we talked about momentum for Fireball, that momentum is entirely gone, and ultimates were already here for Honko Attitude. Now they're still reasonably ahead until Apudo can get this Dragon Blade up, and then it's going to be Blade versus Blade. That's going to be an interesting duel.
That it is. But already Fireball, they've kind of had their every move a little bit red. They do get the payload underway, and Enzid around the side is looking to get a good sticky here as K4 not really finding much with the Dragon Blade, only really got CQB off the, Zalf's off the end of it. Pudo on the flip side of that, getting a lot more work done. He does it to put the blade away, but he's doing just fine. Jinkao being pressured out here, and Apudo gets to regroup. They get the payload well moving, and they're still picking up more ult charge off the back end of this. They kind of drew everything out of Hong Kong Attitude, and this is now where the momentum can be on their side.
K4 fell out of that with minimal health, and even then Enzid picked him up. So Fireball, they countered out the aggression with enough aggression of their own. Dragon Blade versus Dragon Blade. Apudo heavily won that one. And Honko Attitude, I don't even know if they can get back here in time. It does look like they're going to regroup, but nothing to use. They're going to be playing into ultimates. Their best goal here would be to bake something out of Fireball.
That would be ideal, but Fireball, they are stingy. They are actually going to force out Rocket's ultimate. That is a good start for them. And they pick Kurlos as well. K4 does go down. They look to get Zalf as well. Knight threw out the self-destruct just there. Jinkao also threw out his own, but it's Apudo doing the work. Where have we seen that before? And Fireball do end up committing of the ultimates to it, given the end and threw out the pulse bomb at the end, but they're looking to win this fight anyway. We'll be able to get the cap back off it. So, I mean, all's well that ends well, but I would have liked to have seen them maybe hold on to one or two more.
Yeah, well, Honko Attitude, their goal was to force ultimates out of Fireball. They got that done. That was going to be the result, they kind of expected result that they wanted to be able to achieve there for Fireball. It does slow them down because it gives Honko Attitude room to breathe, room to charge up these ultimates. Counter dive's still very effective from Honko Attitude, and the kills are definitely coming in as well.
Yeah, Ninth way too deep, like I said. Fireball have done this before, and it just seems to get red when they go too aggressive after getting a point cap because they want to get a snowball. Hong Kong Attitude are ready for it, and they're just destroying these tanks before any proper follow-up can come through from the DPS.
Alright, well, the follow-through now coming from the DPS, like you said.
There's the second one.
Apudo's turn.
There we go. That's the Apudo we know and love. He even still has a bit of nano boost left just at the back end of it, and that'll be just enough nano boost to probably get Jinkao out of out of the smack. For some reason I misread the name for a second there, but anyway, it is now back underway for Fireball, and it seems that just when Hong Kong Attitude rob them of the momentum, they take it back for themselves anyway.
They do. Well, Fireball, they've timed that correctly to really make use of K4's turn, though.
It is his turn. It's kind of getting answered, though. He's not got any targets in front of him, and they're just pressuring out. Goes all the way back to try and catch these healers, who just kind of retreat. Now, he's desperately trying to take out these backliners, but I mean, he's just getting pressured out, and he's barely going to get out with his life here. No such luck. A complete waste of his time and energy because the payload was moving, and now Fireball continuing to get the kills here, the sound barrier to keep this fight going for themselves so that they can close out a few more kills. And Sleepy Rocket is going untouched there because no one can even do damage. Jinkao unable to get back in the mech, and Apudo is already just about at another Dragon Blade.
Yeah, and he's been so effective with
Oh,
his
dear.
Dragon Blade so far. Finally, K4 answers him, which is really important. This may stop up Fireball's push finally, because Aputo has been the major factor for Fireball's success.
Well, may, but I mean, only barely, right? They only just started the contest here now. They're going to throw out a self-destruct just to kind of, I don't know, give themselves a window, I guess. And there we go. Finally, Sherilyn getting one with the pulse bomb, and K4 closes out a few. Wow, that payload got a lot further than I was expecting.
Yeah, like I said, Aputo was definitely the answer for Hong Kong Attitude there. They need to be able to sort of shut him down. And if we've compared K4 and Aputo on their soldiers, K4 soldiers looked better, but so far right now at least, Aputo's Genji is far more successful than K4's.
To say the least. And Aputo once again has Dragon Blade available. Ends it in our early Pulse Bomb once again goes wide. No great picks have really been coming out of those. This is going to be the Nano Blade combo. Looking to get onto a team first who's busy dealing with Kurlos, and Jin Kao gets all the kills through, and Hong Kong Attitude looking already better at the top of this fight. Those resources kind of get thrown down the drain for Fireball as they find nothing with the Nano Blade.
It's a real shame, because for Aputo, he picked the wrong target. He went for a ting, didn't realize the Primal Rage was there. Because he couldn't clean up the kill, doesn't get the dash reset. You need the dash reset to really get the most out of Dragon Blades. So, the first failed Dragon Blade from Aputo so far on Route 66, and unfortunately for them, I don't want to see a repeat of Eichenwalde where that is no longer any good Dragon Blades out of him.
Early Dragon Blade out of K4, but he had the target in his sights there. Great hook by Ninth, but he goes down to the Pulse Bomb anyway. He had to stand still while that hook channels, and Fireball have been cut off at the neck, as we like to say. Hong Kong Attitude already well set to clean out this fight. There is not enough members here for Fireball. Rocket going to try and buy time with that ultimate running, but no such luck. No one else to keep the contest alive, and Fireball will not get a full cap through. Already I'm wrong. We're not going to time back.
Yep, so like I said, Fireball going to struggle and not manage to get the entire cap out. Hong Kong Attitude, they're going to be... It's not going to be an easy one for them as well. I kind of predict that it'll go into overtime for their cap, but they'll eventually be able to get it done.
Well, there you go, bold prediction. I feel like that was a really tricky one as well, because like I said, every time Fireball went for a snowball at the expected time, i.e. immediately after capping a point, Hong Kong Attitude were ready for it and reacted to it, and kind of made them look silly. They were constantly killing these tanks that seemed to be miles too far ahead of their whole team, right? But then, immediately after that, Fireball would come back and take a really great fight and get the snowball rolling anyway.
Dive versus dive can feel like a bit of a coin flip sometimes, because if you're on an offensive snowball, what you're trying to do is deny the defensive position, get rid of the high grounds, force the soldiers off, not even allow the soldiers to get on there, but oh whoops, you're not even playing against that. You're playing against the dive yourself, so denying the high ground doesn't do anything, because that defense wasn't going to take it anyway. They're going to dive you back, and that does explain why it is a bit of 50-50.
Yeah, well, where K4 opted to not run the soldier, Aputo will. That is probably the most significant change here so far, and I don't think we'll see anything too outlandish on the offense from Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, there's going to be still fairly aggressive players from Fireball. Unfortunately for Aputo, I think he's going to be very well pressured, which is going to be difficult, because we've seen Aputo soldier. We saw it on Eichenwalde, and he couldn't get much done. He had much better success on the Genji. Even here, he has really good success on the Genji so far in Route 66, minus that final botched Dragon Blade, the one botched Dragon Blade, and if it's just one, then maybe Aputo can bring back a little bit more flavor on that.
And he is still a good soldier player, but you're right, when he's getting pressured, he does seem to just struggle a little bit. I mean, it's not easy. There are very few soldiers, I would say, in this tournament that are really good at dealing with being pressured hard like that, but Aputo, I mean, he really needs to turn that around if he really wants to be able to hold his own against these dive comps as soldier.
Yeah, no early defense from Fireball, just sticking onto the roof of Big Earls.
I do like this.
As the cart sort of flies around the corner. It's very traditional. It's a traditional Route 66 defense.
Now they go in for the aggressive move. They do not want to give Hong Kong Attitude the opportunity to dive, but K4 has been able to get onto that high ground anyway, and they've just let him get onto the healers. Kurlos now finds himself with no protection and is only a quick melee away from death. Now looking to close out on Rocket. Barely gets it with a sliver of health, but that's 3 kills there for K4, and it has completely opened the door.
Yeah, Fireball, they couldn't find their footing there. Got died fairly early. K4 did the majority of the work. Takes down Zalfix really early. Finishes it off with Rocket as well. It's almost like a repeat of Volskaya in a sort of way, with just catching the Fireball members out. It really ruins their entire defense. And the retake potential is really low here because Apudo can't find any ground.
Yeah, they are now coming on for a bit of a contest here, but they've already lost to Pudo. Shylin, good pulse bomb, is going to take a chunk of health off Knight. They pressure out Rocket, and Fireball, they're kind of just... it's like... They're paying tribute to a defense, but it's not a real defense.
At this rate, you know, I might have to change and say Honko Attitude are not going to go into time bait because this was pretty quick so far. The good news is for Fireball, they do get that initial defensive positioning. They are losing it very quickly though.
Yep.
Pudo needs to find an opportunity to use Tech Visor or it's all over.
Yeah, and it's already over as K4 gets right on top of him. He doesn't even need to find anyone else because between that and Kurlos already being off the table, the Hong Kong Attitude already had the extra ults on top of Fireball anyway. Closing out on Rocket as well. They're going to get themselves back on this payload, get a ton of distance on it. And Fireball may try and get a cheeky distance. Yeah, they didn't actually get much distance on the payload, so Fireball will be able to get some respawns through here. And actually, Nines dies quickly enough that, yeah, they'll probably get an opportunity for one last fight here before the cap.
Yeah, they should do. And good news is Apudo has saved that Tech Visor. Bad news is he didn't manage to use it at all on either of the first cap defense or that last death as well. I mean, this is like it really does just feel like Eichenwalde.
It really does.
He's sitting on Soldier with the Tech Visor and has zero opportunity to even use it.
Yeah, it's like they're just constantly getting so pressured they never really find the window. They're already going to have to commit the sound barrier. And again, Apudo with this visor, he's just finding nothing. He's got Winstons and Divas in his face, and the team is nowhere in his sights at all. The only one he will get is Jin Kao, and now finally they're able to open up on the rest of them. Hong Kong Attitude not quite closing it out when they had kind of survived the main pressure from Fireball. So good job by Fireball to kind of keep it together until they had that moment. But man, you expect them to get a lot more out of a Nano Visor.
At least when you got tanks in your face, you got tanks in your sights, the rest of your team gets a very easy opening. With both tanks sort of focused on Apudo, everyone else, including Izanar, kind of gets free reign on the backline of Hong Kong Attitude, and the self-destruct from 9th as well kind of just scatters them out.
And that's the real big thing there. NZNR on this Tracer had that room to maneuver. And we see that a lot between him and Shylin. Whoever gets more room to maneuver tends to be able to do more. Mango Jai already getting picked off bodes very well for Fireball. NZNR, there's that free reign we're talking about as he picks a Ting, able to go right off to the side there, and nothing Jin Kao can do seems to help. And Fireball have kind of found a place to dig in their heels, at least for a moment.
Yeah, the next tool here should be the Pulse Bomb. Hong Kong Attitude still looking to charge. They're not quite ready to take a full fight. Because they're running dive, they may just fully dive anyway. Apudo is always a pick that they can sort of get if they convert, if they can sort of coordinate this dive properly. The X factor is NZNR because NZNR is not something you can easily dive. He has the only ultimate for Fireball anyway. He's the swing player.
He absolutely is. Shylin nearly has his own Pulse Bomb though, so we'll have to see what both he and NZNR are able to pull off here. K4 now with this ultimate as well, as already checking around trying to find something. And Apudo, he heads for the hills the moment he hears that come out, but it's not going to work anyway. Zalk's already taken out, and Apudo, he's just having to play Ring Around Rosie here. And while that's all happening, there is no DPS to deal with the tanks diving the rest of his team, and they get absolutely smacked down. Even if Apudo does survive this one, he doesn't go down to his own Helix rocket.
Well, call that an even trade, call that an even duel. Both players kill each other.
Yeah, but one team wins.
But unfortunately, the swing player, like I said, was NZNR. He couldn't get anything done. No kills from him, no pulse bomb kills, nothing. He used it. One just kind of swung wide. And Apudo, like I said, he's a known factor. You can always effectively dive him, and he gets pressured. When Apudo gets pressured, he doesn't get a lot done on Soldier, and that's his weakness on there.
We've seen so few sticks throughout this entire series, in fact. I think there was one or two solid ones on Oasis, and that's really been it, both from Shylin and NZNR. And Shylin we identify as being one of the best tracers in this entire tournament, so I'm actually quite surprised that that's been the case. And even on top of that, they're not getting a ton of kills themselves either. They're just sort of getting one or two in any given fight.
All right, well, Fireball sitting on that Tech Visor Nano Boost as well. Ready to go. That's a stack. That's a stack.
Right as I say that, he does finally prove me wrong. Gets one on Rocket. That was a great target as well because that would have been a huge school tool out of the picture. They're now forced to commit the Nano Visor. Apudo, he tries to not shoot the sleeping Ting, who did have the ultimate running, but NZNR finding his own stick. Now trying to close out on the rest of these members, but it is not an easy ask. Really trying to put the hurt onto members if he can, but Shaolin is the one who seems to be getting a little bit more room to maneuver. Ends it enough, finally picking out a Ting. It's already down to these traces because K4 has been pressured out as well. And Fireball, thanks to Rocket coming back up with that ultimate available, they do just barely hold on there because Hong Kong Attitude took too long to close out.
Yeah, and Apudo, he sort of nullifies the pressure there, ins and out, gets a little bit of room to maneuver. Fireball get enough kills to repel. Hong Kong Attitude now sitting on this Dragon Blade Nano Boost again. It's been fairly effective so far. It's nothing Apudo level, but it does force Fireball into a really awkward position, specifically for Apudo. Like I said, if Apudo gets pressured, he's in a bad spot where he gets nothing done, and it's all up to ins and out.
Oh dear, K4 goes way too deep hunting for those backliners.
He was Dragon Blade.
Yeah, and that was with the Dragon Blade running. That is a great start for Fireball. Now they convert onto Mango Jai as well. The only one they lose is Rocket. Normally I would fault the guy, but this time it doesn't even matter. And that runs down the clock a significant amount.
Yeah, it does, and it kind of really puts Hong Kong Attitude on the back foot for their counter pressure as well, because now they don't have the Dragon Blade again to push with. This is still running down the clock.
Yeah.
They're still feeding members.
They decided that they wanted to keep going. They felt, okay, look, K4's down, but we've still got enough ultimates here, but they just funneled themselves into a tight spot that Fireball had complete control of. The bomb didn't actually land, but it got a Ting low enough and forced Jin Kao out that they were able to close out another 2 kills, and now Hong Kong Attitude have swapped with barely any time left.
Yeah, well, this kind of feels like Eichenwalde in sort of 2 ways, because this is this is now Apudo attacking Eichenwalde as well, where went on Genji for a long time, doesn't work, gets onto Soldier right at the last moment.
Shaolin is desperately trying to find something. Rocket is going to be forced to ult here now. Shaolin, he does get a stick. It's onto the Diva though. It doesn't quite close it out. There it is. The mech goes out with that self-destruct there. So Ninth will get back in it, restore that health bar. Rocket does finally get pressured down. Now it is go time for Fireball to close out kills. And also go time for Hong Kong Attitude to close out the fight.
No kills.
Apudo getting nothing so far. They unfortunately got the boost onto the Diva there, Hong Kong Attitude. The payload is almost there. Still no kills coming through for Fireball. NZNR is dead. Now K4 has a tactical visor. They're looking to close out the last few here. Fireball, they've barely got the members. A Ting gets another one. It could be the push they need. It is in overtime, but the payload is moving, and Fireball, they don't have the members. They can't muster a defense. Who will even contest the payload here? Hong Kong Attitude, they're looking set to push it through. A desperate leap for it by Kurlos. The payload's still underway, and no one has stepped foot on it. Finally, with 1 minute to go, they get to it, but they're losing members anyway. Jin Kao keeping it on lockdown, along with a Ting, and no one has died on Hong Kong Attitude. It is just a pity stall by Fireball.
Oh man, a self-destruction clean this one out. K4 manages to get a Apudo as well. This is going to be it. I predicted this exact result. If it does come true,
and there it goes.
Wow, that is exactly what I said was going to happen, right down to the T. Fireball not going to manage to be able to cap it on through. Hong Kong Attitude just getting it into overtime.
It really felt like it could have gone either way though, right towards the end there. In truth, that was 1 victory away for Fireball, but when push came to shove, when it really got down to that last fight, they actually just didn't get any kills at all. It wasn't even that they got trades, but theirs weren't as good. They just didn't get any.
Man, I'm actually really proud of myself for that little call that I made. Because, like you said, it was a big call to make, and a rather specific one that I was kind of like, you know what, this is my gut feeling about the situation.
Go out.
This is just exactly what's going to happen in the game based on gut feeling, and well, there it is, the result.
There it is indeed. Any thoughts about that one? I mean, Hong Kong Attitude, I won't say it felt comfortable, but they do take out the series win.
It was tough.
I think my feelings on that is Apudo is both incredible and ineffective at different times.
Which is a problem for Fireball.
Yes.
Because they need the backpack.
They do need the backpack, and you can see player of the game gets 1 million kills with his Dragon Blade, and that wasn't the only time that happened, and that's exactly how they got that far on their attack on Route 66. But after that, you just saw nothing was able to come out of his Dragon Blades, and after that, it was just completely halted by Hong Kong Attitude.
The thing I find interesting about that series, actually, you could see just the rundown of that there. The one that Hong Kong Attitude did lose was Control, which, I mean, we're kind of bringing it up a lot now, but it is the first thing that they took off AHQ just yesterday, and then went on to win that series as well. And they did so resoundingly. Now look, the win that Fireball took on that was a little bit closer. It wasn't as much of a blowout as Hong Kong Attitude versus AHQ, but based on that, I expected the series to then be way, way tighter. And after that first one, it really felt like Fireball were just outclassed, especially on those payload-oriented maps.
Well, on Volskaya, definitely. On Eichenwalde, I would say yes as well. On Route 66, it was rather close. It went right down to the wire. And on Oasis, it was rather favoured for Fireball. So there were moments there where you had a Fireball you have a Fireball favoured map, you have two Hong Kong Attitude favoured maps, and then one just which could have easily have swung either way. There was a real potential for Fireball to really just hold it out there. So as much as the overtime came into effect, and I said Hong Kong Attitude were going to get it then, it's so risky that, hey, Fireball could have actually held it out during the overtime, and they would have won it on the spot, and we would be going into a map 5. So
yeah, and Nino, remind you that map 5 would of course been hybrid and would have been Hong Kong Attitude's pick, so that would have been a really tricky one to call. I mean, I can't help but feel if it had gone to a game 5 that actually Hong Kong Attitude would have still pulled out the win purely from having that home pick advantage, and hybrid not feeling particularly uncomfortable. You know, they could have opted into where Fireball were able to take them to Eichenwalde, they could have opted into something that we feel was more favored to them, you know, the Kings Rows, the Hollywoods, the Nimbanis. So that's kind of that for that first one. Hong Kong Attitude, that was arguably the trickier matchup of the night. They'll be happy to have that win under their belt, as much as it didn't feel as resounding, I suppose, as the one against AHQ. It's certainly not an upset either, but a win is a win is a win, and it does still bode well for them as a team.
I don't think it was easy. I think the biggest takeaway is recently, or rather, some time ago during the second round robin, as soon as that would have been, you look at Hong Kong Attitude versus Fireball, 3-0. Right?
Yeah.
You would have just predicted
Zero contest in the 3-1.
You would have said 3-0, not a lot of contest there, like you said. This, we came into it saying it was going to be a tough call. Hong Kong Attitude did look really good after beating AHQ, so favoured for them, and pretty much kind of translates into the direct results here. So for the first time as well for Hong Kong Attitude, not the first time, but the first time since the first round robin, they get back up and at least even up their scoreline.
Yeah, the important thing is that they did get the points off that you can see on the leaderboard here that they were expected to take out a win against Fireball, and it is setting them up on their path to at least have a chance, have a shot at getting into that top 3.
Yeah, there is still a very, very narrow window remaining for them. I don't know if it's really enough of a window anyway, but in any case, I think the real big takeaway from that is after the series yesterday against AHQ, that was a testament to how much Hong Kong Attitude have improved, and also actually raises a lot of questions about AHQ, exposed a lot of weaknesses for them, kind of demonstrated that quite clearly. And then today, I suppose the fact that it wasn't a 3-0 for Hong Kong Attitude, whereas previous matchups between these two teams were, actually does speak to the improvement of Fireball as well. Now look, yeah, they still picked up a loss, but you're right, it wasn't easy, and both of these teams, frankly, are looking a lot better than they did at the start of the tournament, and I would say have both fixed a lot more of their problems than a lot of the other teams in this tournament.
In fact, if you really want to read into it, it's Hong Kong Attitude that just beat AHQ and Fireball that are taking a map off the team that beat AHQ. So it's a good improvement.
Yeah, player of the game. Going over to Shaolin, I feel well-deserved, to be sure. He does get a good number of those, but frankly, his tracer is fantastic. And we even say, even when they were the 5th place team, he's probably 2nd or 3rd best tracer in the tournament anyway. That man is an absolute superstar. When he does get that room to breathe, he absolutely shines.
Did like his performance on Tracer. Close second, I'd say probably K4, just the way he managed to survive quite consistently on that soldier against a relentless dive coming out from Fireball. Occasionally caught out by Apudo when Apudo's going big, but all of Hong Kong Attitude were caught out by that. So
I almost want to give a bit of a play game to Mango Jive for the Sombra as well.
Almost, yeah. But in any case, let's go ahead and have an interview with Jin Kao, lovingly translated for you by AVRL.
好，掌声欢迎一下好不好？好，我这边有几个问题要问他哦，就是在第一张地图啊，绿洲城的时候，
First map
这是你们
Oasis
自己选的吗？
You chose
那
that?
应该很有把握。
是啊，
Did you feel like you should have won that? How did you lose?
输了呢？
其实我们已经有安排好敌人会怎么走啊，然后怎么打。
We
结果
planned
他们
our attack really well.
不按牌理出牌，结果把我们的节奏打乱。
We thought they were going to do something. They did something completely different.
好，
We
那
weren't
想
prepared
问
for what
说，
Fireball
就
did.
是一开始啊，你们就是在赛前的时候访问的时候就说啊，我们最近啊就是状况不太好。
So you've been
可是
saying
昨天
you
状
don't
况
look
不
so
太
good
好，可是也打
at the
赢
moment?
AHQ。
So you've been
然后
saying you
今
don't
天
look
也
so
说
good,
状
but
况
you
不太
still
好
beat
也打
HQ.
赢了
You said
那
today you
这
don't
样
look
子
so
的
good,
说
but
法
you
是
still
说
beat
你
Fireball.
们是谦虚吗？还是官方说法？
这绝对不是谦虚的，在昨天之前我们是4连败了，然后我们自己本身在约团、韩国团啊、中国大陆。
So yesterday during scrims,
团队我们自己也都是屡战屡败。
we weren't
然后大家
very good at all
信心
in
都
our
被击溃
practices.
了。
那 那你们在最近有
was
做
quite
什么样的
fortunate for us to
练
beat
习或者说改
AHQ.
进的吗？
就是
How did you
一直练
change
习
in your
然后
practice?
练习检讨啊，可是
We've been practicing a
就是
lot.
效果都不如预期。
But
难
the
怪刚刚
results
他刚
during
在
scrims
在
have
下
not
面
been
告
good,
诉我说他们
unfortunately.
都没有在吃粽子，
对啊
是不是都没有过到节？
真的，因为最近就是因为比赛很繁，比赛就是连续这种比赛很近的，然后
We've
很
been
繁忙，然后
spending a lot of time
基本
practicing,
上
getting
没
ready
有
for matches and
回家
scrimming.
回家
We haven't had time to really go
然后
home very often.
哦，粉丝也没有偷送粽子来祝福我们。
是，哎，对，粉丝有没有偷偷带粽子来？
Yeah,
好了，辛苦你们了啦。那再次呢，恭喜
Alright, well,
HKA 赢得这次的比
thank
赛。
you very much to
那下
Jinkel.
一场比赛呢？
It's she actually raises quite a good point. Yeah, like the last like 3 or 4 games they've played, they've gone, yeah, no, we don't feel very good. Like we're still making a lot of mistakes. Things aren't quite ideal. And then they've won them. Like the only exception has been Flash Wolves, but Flash Wolves are looking so dominant right now. That's kind of not unexpected, right? Like when are Hong Kong Attitude ever going to feel good about?
That's the thing is he said it himself. It's the scrim results are not coming out very good for them, and because they're not feeling great.
That's kind of interesting. In any case, let's go ahead and jump into a more detailed look now with the losing side, Fireball.
All right, I'm going to try and translate this one over as well.
Hello, my name is Pete. I'm Zalfix from Fireball.
Hello, my name is Put. Game name.
You just seem to be having a
Sorry,
couple
we
of
do
couple
have
of
a couple of
microphone
audio
mishaps.
issues there, so not quite getting the questions in there.
There we go. Seems to be coming
那以
through.
后未来还有很多地方就跟大家多指教。
All right, so unfortunately, we're not getting the audio here, so
Yeah.
might just have to skip this one, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame because there's there's such characters on that
Yeah.
team. It's always kind of cool to get a bit more of a detailed sit down with them, especially Apudo, who was actually on the couch there. I mean, his character shines through anyway. Every single time they do that flyby at the start of their games, there's something, man. There's always some gag, and he's full of life. That dude is smiling, win or lose, rain or shine. What a
Oh, we actually have it
what
in
a
English.
charming fellow. Well, of course they are Thai, so
we
we,
get to
may
watch
just
this.
be able to jump into them. I think audio issues may have been
Honestly,
resolved.
I
Here we
don't
go.
even know that I'm that famous because I'm not that kind of fan, you know.
OK，他说就是就他自己个人所知，他不知道他就是这样被人家知道，对，就是。Have you ever worked as a web model before, like taking photo shoots, like at a sightseeing spot or natural resources?
It was a very long time ago.
OK，他说就是很久以前，那他自己就是其实也不知道他自己会被在网络上面被人家发现这样。对对对。They are wondering that, as for everyone knows that you're very passionable and you're very happy all the time, no matter, even when we lost the game or we won the game, but you always keep the same attitude and very positive to people that's seeing us. So, did this come from you and where is this coming from?
It's come from by myself. Yeah, just think positive.
Think positive.
Yeah.
他说就是他自己发自他内心的，就是他就是很正面，然后比较阳光这样。And there's one more question is that because people are seeing that you and Carlos are always like playing together, so are you guys like best friends?
No. He just sit beside me.
Oh, okay.
Nothing at all. Yeah.
How so?
I can play with all people just if he want to play with me. Yeah.
他说其实因为就是刚好他坐在旁边，他说他其实跟大家都可以玩得很开，对，就是只要谁想要跟他玩，他都可以跟大家玩得很快乐这样。 就我们所知的话，目前的话不会全部的人都过去。对对对，我们话会有3位会过去。对对。这个的话可能之后我们再看看。对，因为其实我们现在还，这个要之后再说。对。Because the summer vacation for Taiwan is coming, so a lot of people, Thailand is a very famous spot for Taiwanese. So is there any place that you recommend to go in Thailand and any like food that's recommended? Tom Yum Goong.
Yeah, I recommend all the Taiwanese to try Tom Yum Goong and Pad Thai.
And where?
Pad Thai.
Pad Thai is a sightseeing spot, right? Or is it the food name?
It's the name of the food.
Oh,
Both.
Pad Thai. 对。
For me, it's green curry.
What's that?
Green curry.
Green curry.
Yeah.
绿咖喱。对对对，绿咖喱。它指的是食物。对对对对对对。Is there anything special about the Dongyingong?
Tom Yum Goong.
Yeah, the Tom Yum Goong.
It's
Is it
spicy.
very
and
spicy?
A lot of things.
A lot of things.
Yeah, yeah.
Like seafood
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then bamboo.
You can choose seafood, pork, or chicken.
Oh, okay.
Up to you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And it's very spicy.
Yeah.
他说就是冬阴功的话就是有
No. Tom Yum Goong is chimp.
chimp
Yeah.
Shrimp.
Yeah.
shrimp 哦
Yes.
OK 说就是冬阴功的话是一个汤，然后里面就是有虾子啊，然后有猪肉啊什么的，很多东西都有。对，对，对对对，然后它会有一些就是一些天然的一些什么，像是一些菜啊香料在里面。对对对。Okay, because now this vacation in Taiwan we call the Dragon Boat Fest. So during the Dragon Boat Fest in Taiwan, we would eat the steamed rice dumpling. So do people in Thailand eat the steamed rice dumpling as well?
I eat it before. Yeah.
Oh, you ate it before.
Yeah.
So is it very similar to Taiwanese?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I
他
don't
说
know.
应该蛮像的，但是他们可以试试看。是 You guys can you can try now or you can try later. Okay.
อร่อยปะเนี่ยยังไม่กินเลย มือสั่นแล้ว
Is it good?
อะไรนะจืดไปจืดกว่าที่คิดไว้ It's less tasty than he thought.
It's less tasty.
Yes.
哦，他说味道比他想象的简单多了。对对对。对对，可能因为泰国他们是吃比较酸辣重口味的，对。So
I think it should. I eat when I eat it in Thailand, it's salt more than this.
it's salty.
Salt,
Yeah,
salt.
more salty.
他说在泰国他们吃的比这边的还要咸，对，他们的比较咸。哦。
ต้องราดซอสหรือเปล่าเขามีซอสด้วย
In Thailand, because we also use the sweet and sour sauce in
No,
Taiwan
we
as
we
well.
don't use salt.
You don't use, you just eat it plain like this. 他说在泰国他们都是吃，就是这样吃，不会沾别的东西。对对对。 Do you have any goals for like in the future? Like because since the season is going to an end, so do you have any like plans or any goals that you're expecting?
Be the champion.
Be the champion.
Yeah.
Be the champion.
Our goal is to try our best and get better every time. Every time.
OK， 对，其实他们两个讲，其实当然也是，就是我们队的，就是希望，就是我们虽然就是现在是这样子，但是我们会一直不断的进步，一直不断的成长。那其实我们也一直都有看到，就是我们大家一直在做很多的更正，对，所以我们希望就是我们一次一次会越来越好，对。谢谢谢谢，拜拜，继续支持我们，谢谢。
I think Zelfix has the slightly more achievable goal. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. And that was a fantastic interview because they basically said, come to Thailand, try all our food, it's great. And then ate some of the Taiwanese food and went, nah, it's not as good. They absolutely put them on blast. Wow. In any case, unfortunately, Fireball were not able to pick up the win today. Did take one map off Hong Kong Attitude, that map being Oasis, but Hong Kong Attitude swung it back, and now Hong Kong Attitude will go on to face Sun Sister in the next game that is coming on up right after this short break, so don't go anywhere.